the most powerful phone in history. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226. Plan, Seek, the World. Although Cao Zhang has rough thoughts in his heart, he has some vague thoughts of not being willing to be ordinary, but he never dares to think about the world. His mind was in shock for a long time, and Xiling beside him was also very confused. He was originally very Buddhist, and he never thought of it. On the other hand, there was a flash of light in her eyes, which was like a shooting star, very dazzling. She has always felt that Xu Feng is extraordinary, but she never thought that this person is so daring to think that he has thoughts about the whole world. Then why didn't he do it himself, and to encourage this Cao Zhang? Cao Zhang opened his mouth, and after a long time, under the blowing of the breeze, he came back to his senses. He stuttered and said, "Brother Xu, the world is too far away from me. I'm just a gangster in Yunzhou City. I don't think so much." Xu Feng waved his hand to prevent Cao Zhang from continuing to deny himself. "There is nothing difficult in the world. Everything is difficult. Why not choose the most challenging one? Now that the world is in troubled times, Yanguang is dead. It is the time when heroes are competing for the throne. Heroes rise from the grass. Hundreds of years ago, Chen Xing said that princes and generals would rather have kindness. Man, I believe that Cao Zhang can do it once in this world." Okay. When Cao Zhang heard these words, his blood really surged. He suddenly felt that the road ahead was open. Yes, he was a little bastard with nothing, so why not dare? The big deal is death. What's the pity if you fail? Just do it. But remembering that Xu Feng was on the side, he suddenly calmed down again, scratched his head and said to Xu Feng, "Brother Xu, why don't you do such a big thing yourself? If you do, I will follow to the death." Xu Feng shook his head. "Like I said, I don't have that heart. I'm afraid of being tired, but Cao Zhang, you have a fire in your heart, so go and release it." Cao Zhang got up and bowed down. "Brother Xu, please teach me. If it works, where will we go?" Xu Feng had already planned many things in his heart. The troubled times at the end of the Sui dynasty ended in the hands of Li Yuan's family. If Cao Zhang went to join him, he would probably become a general of the Li and Tang dynasty for the rest of his life. As for others who have the opportunity to compete for the world, Wagang's was full of talents in the early days, including Dao Jian from Hebei and Wang Shichen from Shanxi among them. Wagang village is very suitable. It has a good chance. Under the leadership of Li Mi, he surrendered to Li Shimin. Have you ever heard of a place called Wagang's? Then you should be able to help you get things done. Wagan village. Cao Zhang remembered that he really had a vague impression. He had heard it from a storyteller in Yunzhou City. It seemed that they were a group of rebels. What was the name of the leader? And he couldn't remember more clear. Okay, since benefactor gave me advice, there must be nothing wrong with it. When I recover from my injuries, I will go to this wagon. Xu Feng smiled and said nothing, suddenly found that there seemed to be an eye staring at him all the time, and when he looked up, he saw that Wan, who was disguised as a court lady, was looking at him. His eyes seemed to see through him, and seemed to be full of doubts. Cao Zhang was so excited that it was hard to describe, imagining all kinds of things in the future. "Cao Zhang, are you really going to Nogang village?" Xu Xiling, who was silent for a long time, asked the question. When Xu Feng and Cao Zhang were communicating, he had been listening silently without interrupting. He faintly felt resistance in his heart, but his good brother seemed to be sincerely yearning for it. "Of course, Xiling, didn't you listen to what benefactor said? Go there, I can make a big splash, manly man, in the world. Naturally I want to build a career." Cao Zhang pulled Xu Xiling excitedly. "Xiling, you can go with me. We two brothers can definitely make things happen together." Xu Xiling faltered. He was extremely entangled in his heart at this time. Since he was a child, he grew up with Cao Zhang. The relationship between brothers is very deep, but it seems that he is really interested in fighting for hegemony. No feelings, but if my brother wanted to do this, how could he refuse? He had no choice but to smile wryly. "Okay, I'll go with you." Cao Zhang laughed loudly. "That's great." He patted Xu Xiling heavily. "What?" Xu Xiling cried out in pain. "Be careful. Why did you hit him so hard? He was seriously injured." Hao reprimanded Cao Zhang, and stepped forward to examine Xu Xiling's wound carefully. Knowing that he was excited, Zhang accidentally slapped his brother's wound, so he scratched his head embarrassedly and smiled silly. After late at night, everyone slept by the fire in their clothes and had a rest for the night the next day. Xu Feng said goodbye to the two brothers. Brother Xu, are you really unwilling to go with our brothers? Your martial arts and knowledge are much better than our two brothers, I believe. Okay, don't talk anymore, Xu Feng interrupted with a smile. You can't change my mind. Let's just leave now. You go to wagon. We will meet again in the future. After saying that, Xu Feng was about to turn around and leave. Wait, you're leaving just like that? Wan Hao stared angrily. I forgot to say goodbye to the girl. I was rude, girl, and we will meet again in the future. You're so mad at me. Do you just want to leave me alone like this? Wan Hao didn't know where she got such a temper, and she didn't know where her courage came from. She knew that Xu Feng must have recognized him a long time ago. From the look in her eyes last night, she was sure. But this person didn't expose himself, and didn't talk to him too much. He just treated himself as a transparent person, completely ignoring his own existence. She felt wronged for some reason in her heart. Could it be that she was so annoying? Leave you alone. Xu Feng was also having a headache at the moment. He naturally recognized how a long time ago, but in order to avoid trouble, he really pretended not to know him on purpose. But leave you alone? You are a devil girl. What do you want me to do? Ahem, girl, I took you out of the palace yesterday, and now you are free. You can go home or find your own way out. Woo, I don't have a family. I used to worry about food and clothing in the palace. Now that I am a weak woman, in this troubled world, I will definitely starve to death. Zhang and Su Xiling at the side saw it, and Zhang said, Girl, why don't you go to Wagon Village with our two brothers? Unexpectedly, Hao is completely ungrateful. Whoever wants to go to that bandit den with you is full of stinky men. Woohoo, I won't go, and I don't want to fight. Woohoo, don't worry about me, you will go. Let me. It's better to die here alone, and there is no need to collect a body. Just let the birds and beasts eat me. The more you talk, the more pitiful you become. At first, it was still a fake whining, but later I really shed tears, so pitiful. Su Xiling's heart was soft. Seeing this appearance, he said to Xu Feng, and Gong, what she said is right. She is a weak woman, and it is indeed very dangerous in this wilderness. My brothers and I are going to wagon. Why don't you take care of me, benefactor? She took it to settle nearby. Xu Feng had a terrible headache, but he couldn't tell the two brothers about the identity of the woman, so he had to agree first. Okay, then follow me first. Seeing that she had succeeded, she immediately burst into a smile, with a few drops of pearly tears hanging on her dimple, which was extremely beautiful. Chapter 227. Xu Feng and Zhang bid farewell, and started on the road with Wan Hao. In this world, to be honest, I don't know how long I have to wait until Zhang is firmly seated on the throne. According to the time span of previous dynasty changes, about 10 years is normal. Walking in this world is sometimes very lonely, because he is not a person of this world, and everything, including relatives and friends, is on the earth. Human beings have a social nature that is related to their body, that is, they will depend on social relationships. This is also the secret and the power of unity, that human beings can eventually dominate the natural world despite their small size. But recently, Xu Feng not only felt loneliness, but also realized that the journey of cultivation is actually contrary to the nature of human beings. Because of practice, the strength of the individual is getting stronger and stronger, so the kind of unity as a human being is actually unnecessary. Moreover, due to the strength of the individual, it actually tends to be alone, occupying a territory by itself, as is the case with lions and tigers in nature, monopolizing the hills, because the strength of the individual is accompanied by the strength of plundering resources. But after all, people are born weak, and it is difficult to change their psychology. This kind of mentality will be a big test. Cultivation and the like, walking against the sky is really not just talking. The sky here can be regarded as the limitation of human beings as living organisms. Cultivation is to break through this limitation and to deviate from it. As the essence of practice, the construction of human psychology is very important. Xu Feng sometimes thinks that one must first cultivate one's heart in practice. Only those with a strong mind can go further on this road. When returning to the earth, he really needs to study psychology carefully. Maybe it will help him practice. Of course, these are all random thoughts in Xu Feng's mind. After separating from Zhang, in fact, He didn't think about the next step. He helped Cao Zhuang to conquer the country and work as a coolie. He didn't know how to do it, it was too boring. But if he doesn't care about anything, according to the original logic of this world, it is impossible for Cao Zhuang to become emperor. After all, there is Li Shimin, the son of destiny. The crux of the problem seems to be how to change the destiny and win Li Shimin's fortune. Killing Li directly is not too difficult for Xu Feng. After all, in this interface, his current strength is already at the critical point, which is the limit that this world can accommodate. There should be very few people who can be his opponent. But the reason why destiny is not because of a certain person, but a historical trend. The reason why Li Shimin is not because he is unique, but because the historical trend chose him. If Li Shimin is simply and rudely erased, then the general trend of history will definitely let another person replace him. As Xu Feng was walking, he kept thinking about these things in his mind. Wan followed him, seeing that he just ignored her. She felt more and more disappointed in her heart, but somehow she couldn't lose her temper, because the person in front of her had no special relationship with her. The reason why people lose their temper with another person is because sometimes, you know that the other person has you in his heart and he cares about you, so losing his temper and small emotions at this time are useful. And if you are a stranger, or someone who has no ties, how can the other party care about your emotions? So this kind of thing is often seen in life. When a person faces his family and his lover, even a small matter may cause anger. But if the same thing happens between colleagues or strangers, it may be polite to smile at each other and pass. This is a subconscious choice of people, knowing which ones they care about and which ones care about themselves. But sometimes this kind of presumptuousness in front of the loved one will hurt a closest relative. How? At this moment, her heart is full of twists and turns. She has her pride. She is a witch who is not afraid of anything. She has killed many people, and she has made many men fall under her skirts. She is very confident in her own charm. But here with Xu Feng, what she thought and what she had seemed to be useless. She felt a deep sense of powerlessness, as if at this moment, she had changed back to the little girl she was when she was a child. She was an orphan when she was a child. Before she met Master, she was alone, wandering, and was bullied by many people. So after following the Master, she seized every opportunity to strengthen herself, and she wrapped herself in layers of shells. She hides her heart carefully, and she is very successful in doing so successful that she has almost forgotten the feeling of being weak and helpless. But in front of this man, she once again realized the hidden heart, that weak self like an ordinary girl. She was flustered, and she was very uncomfortable with herself. So when she followed Xu Feng to the nearest town, she left without saying goodbye. She was afraid. In front of Xu Feng, she became a weak person again. She could not control herself. And Xu Feng was also immersed in his own world, and he didn't spare more attention to the witch beside him. When he found out that she was missing, he was not worried, because he knew how terrible she was. In this world, this woman would live a good life, and few people would be better than her. Xu Feng continued to walk without a carriage or skill, just like an ordinary person, measuring the land with his feet. He didn't have a destination, he just chose a direction at random. His body is walking, and his mind is undergoing another trial. When he came to the town, he would rest. Sometimes when it was dark and it was wild, he would sleep in the wilderness. Time passed without him feeling it. Before, time would be slow. When you were a child, you could feel the passing of every minute. Children are the most sensitive to time, and their whole brain is full of curiosity about the world. Every day seems to have something new to explore, something new to discover. The world is so big. So every day when I was a child, in my impression, is full, and I can do a lot of things in one day. At that time, I always hoped that I would grow up quickly. But time seems to be very slow, and we seem to never grow up. Those running in the sun, those teenage years of laughing unscrupulously. But time, it is passing after all. Slowly, the former teenager, the former child, he also grew up. Finally, the time came to the time he wanted the most, but he realized that growing up is really not so beautiful. The human mind is filled with more and more messy things. Most people have also lost their curiosity about the world. Time starts to go fast, because every day is a meaningless repetition. Many people can't find the meaning of existence. Time begins to become insignificant. Every day is like running water, year after year. Chapter 228 Chang'an number 039, and is in sight. Only then did you discover that there really is a theory of relativity in time, not the theory of relativity in physics, but the theory of relativity in psychology. On the macro-Earth scale, time does pass evenly, whether it is a child or an adult, it is passing at a constant speed. However, the connotation of time, or the thickness of time, or the content of time, in short, the content you use to decorate this time, is different. When you were young, you were born and just came into contact with this world, everything is novel, and your brain is like a sponge, absorbing everything continuously. The time at that time was full of thickness, and it was the same when I was in school. I was absorbing it every day and traveling in the history of mankind. When you grow up and work, your time is filled with mechanical repetition, which is a meaningless waste. You start to become numb, and time begins to be filled with day-to-day repetition. 10 years are like a day, because there is no difference, and you as an individual have no new growth. As far as time is concerned, this is meaningless filling, garbage time, and a kind of fast. Xu Feng didn't know how long it had passed, nor how long he had been walking. On this day, his heart finally returned to his body, to this shell. Then he realized that he was walking in a forest. The forest was so dense that he couldn't tell where he was at the moment. Flying up a tree, checked it out, and found a mountain stream. When he came to the stream and took photos by the water, Xu Feng realized that his appearance had become extremely sloppy, and he could hardly bear himself. The beard has grown all over the face, the clothes are tattered, and the face is dirty. The whole person looks like a savage, but there is only a pair of eyes in the messy hair, like an abyss, like a clear spring, black and bright. The strength and clarity of these eyes give people a soul-stirring power. After Xu Feng's experience for an unknown period of time, his strength has finally improved further. He had faintly reached the threshold of strength before, but this time the psychological experience has easily crossed the threshold. After smelling his body, Xu Feng couldn't bear the stench on his body, so he jumped into the mountain stream and started a big cleaning. Wash off the dirt, shave off the clumps of hair, and become a new person again. Take out new clothes from the storage space and put them on. Xu Feng felt refreshed all over his body. Cool, ha, I've been completely reborn after washing off all the dust. Feeling the power of Danshan, Xu Feng is very confident in himself at this moment, as if he has more control over the world. There is no sun and moon in the mountains, and I don't know what day it is. This time I have passed the bottleneck, and all my demons have been eliminated. Before the next bottleneck, I should not need to worry too much. After pondering for a moment, then go out of the mountain and go directly to help that Cao Zhang solve the biggest problem on his way. Xu Feng felt that his brain became much better, his thinking was clear, and he aimed for the Li family's base camp. If you want to solve a problem, you must first understand the problem. If you want to solve Li Shimin, you must first go to the Li family to meet Li Erlang. After leaving the mountain and finding the nearest town, Xu Feng realized that he had already walked into the mountains of the Qinling Mountains. I walked all the way from Yuangzhou, walking casually, and I don't know how long it will be. Now it seems to be just right. Li Shimin's Li family, Guanlong, happened to be in Shaanxi, and he passed the Qinling Mountains, which is not far from Shaanxi. The Qinling Mountains are more lush with trees than the modern Earth. During the Tang Dynasty, the climate of the Qinling Mountains not only had giant pandas, but even elephants. The richness of species was unimaginable. The trees are also unusually high, and towering trees of, meters are very common. Xu Feng asked the mountain people, found the official way, bought a carriage, and drove to Chang'an alone. Along the way, at the post station, I heard the words of the travelers, and got some information. It turns out that I have been away for about half a year, and the world at this moment has become a mess. Both Yang Guang and Yu Wenhuiji of Yangzhou died, and the supreme power in the world lost its authority for a while. Powerful people from all over the world started to compete one after another, and no one wanted to aspire to the top. It is still in a state of melee, and there is no clear situation yet. However, the world is in chaos, and it is the most ordinary people who suffer. That's why there are so many fleeing people on the post road deep in the Qinling Mountains. In troubled times, these poor ordinary people can only hope to escape the catastrophe by hiding in the deep mountains. Xu Feng also witnessed many tragedies along the way. In troubled times, the laws of nature collapse, everything is ruled by the fist. These bottom-level people have no force and no wealth, they are really fish and meat. Although they escape with their families, there will still be robbers on the road. These people escaped the disaster of the army, and had to go through the looting of the bandits. They escaped by chance and had no money to go on the road. Many people began to sell women along the way. In troubled times, the civilization and order established by human beings will collapse so quickly. Human life can be as humble as an ant. Xu Feng also had a lot of intolerance and feelings in his heart. He has been in a modern civilized society for a long time, and he has not seen war for a long time. Although on Earth, the era he lived in was not far from war, no matter how civilization developed, could it not escape war? Will human beings really be destroyed in their own hands? I can't bear to see these miserable scenes. Along the way, as long as Xu Feng encounters these, he will still help. At this moment, he suddenly had a different understanding of the peace and unity of the world. Some things are different. Although this is a different world that has nothing to do with me, as a human being, I really can't be indifferent. I should be able to help end this troubled world as soon as possible. At this moment, he was thinking of the task of the system, helping Kaohsiung to unify, and suddenly felt full of meaning. If there are fewer tragedies and scenes in a peaceful world, then I am willing to work hard. With a whipping, he hurried on his way to Chang'an, to the core that determines the direction of this troubled world. There, he can really help this world, help this chaotic world at the end of the Sui dynasty, quickly find its true destiny, and end all of this. After leaving the Qinling Mountains, Chang'an is already in front of you. This place that has been the capital since the Han Dynasty has a long history. Shenyang in the Qin Dynasty was not far from Chang'an, and its age is really old enough. Coming to the city, although it has experienced troubled times, it is still mighty and domineering. The city wall is 10 feet high, enough to stop any invading enemy, and it is as impenetrable as gold. But no matter how strong the city wall is, it will eventually decay from the inside and be breached. After all, it is people and people's hearts that determine everything. With a carriage, passing through the city gate is Chang'an. Chapter 229. Chang'an City, this plain, is the most majestic city in this space. It is also the crystallization of the great human and material resources of the Han nation. From Shenyang in the Qin Dynasty, to Chang'an in the Han Dynasty, and to the Sui Dynasty, the history of establishing the capital has been close to 1,000 years. Although it has experienced a lot of wars in the middle, whenever peace comes, it will still regain its former glory. The prosperity of the Sui dynasty brought Chang'an to its peak again. At this time, its population was close to 100 million. But no one thought that the prosperity of the Sui dynasty would be so short, less than 50 years, and now the world has fallen into chaos again. After the death of Emperor Sui Yang in Yongzhou, there was no owner in the world, and Chang'an City had no owner for a long time. Taking advantage of the chaos in the world, the Li family had already seized the opportunity and occupied Chang'an City. From Taiyuan to Chang'an, the Li family made a good move and occupied the most valuable resources. With the presence and protection of the Li family, Chang'an was also protected from the ravages of this chaotic world. When Xu Feng entered the city gate, he saw a very wide street. The width of this street was a bit exaggerated, not weaker than that of Chang'an Avenue in China. At this time, various carriages were shuttling on the street, and it was no problem for more than a dozen carriages to walk at the same time. This Chang'an really deserves its reputation. Xu Feng took a good look around Chang'an. The streets in Chang'an are very neatly arranged. There are 108 squares. Each square has a population of nearly. Different squares have different functions. There are dedicated casting, entertainment, and shops. In short, the planning is very reasonable and impressive. After shopping, Xu Feng found a shop, ate and slept, and prepared for the next step. Chang'an City, Yuelao Building. The largest and most prosperous restaurant in Chang'an is 9 stories high. In this era of pure wooden structures without reinforced concrete, the 9-story building really stands out from the crowd in Chang'an. Of course, in such a place, consumption is naturally expensive, and the only people who can spend in this place are the richest and most powerful people in Chang'an. For Xu Feng, money really doesn't matter. After all, since he has decided to pursue martial arts, worldly yellow and white things may be regarded as gold and silver in the eyes of ordinary people, and they represent wealth. But to him, it's just a simple exchange for something to eat. Real things related to cultivation cannot be bought with secular money. He walked along the way, although he didn't deliberately make money, but the few forced shots along the way still brought him a lot of money. Those who stopped and robbed were doing desperate business. Although they were immoral, they did make a lot of money. and Xu Feng happened to meet a few times, and wiped out a few of them, and the money naturally returned to him, although he had already distributed most of the money to the refugees along the way. But the rest is enough for him to go to this Yuelao tower to spend. After finally coming to Chang'an, I naturally want to try the most worthwhile food. The restaurant is 9 floors high, and the food on each floor is different. The first floor to the third floor are ordinary banquet venues, and a meal costs about 12 taels, which is the annual income of ordinary people in Chang'an. From the 4th floor to the 8th floor, the higher the floor, the higher the price, and it is not what ordinary people can expect. As for the 9th floor, which is the highest, it's not just enough to have money. You can get 100 gold for a meal on it. The key is that if you don't have enough money, you have to make an appointment, because the entire top floor can only accommodate 3 tables of people at the same time. Have a meal. On the top of the 9th floor of the Yuelao building, what you eat is not just a meal, but glory. And the scenery is also unique. From above, you can overlook the real Chang'an city, and Chang'an city is right under your feet. This ultimate feeling is like an emperor's enjoyment. The only building in Chang'an city that is taller than this building is probably the altar of worshipping heaven in the imperial city in the north of the city. It was also the first time for Xu Feng to know that there are so many things to pay attention to when eating. He was on the first floor at this time, listening to this guy and introducing him to this knowledge. The buddy saw that he had an extraordinary temperament and a restrained spirit. As a buddy here, there is no one who is not a human being, so he patiently explained. After Xu Feng heard it, he couldn't help but admire in his heart. The ancient consumption tricks were well played, not worse than the modern ones. Guest officer, look, which floor do you want to go to for dinner? The waiter asked humbly. Well, do you have a seat on the 9th floor? Xu Feng thought, since he had eaten in the best restaurant, why not simply experience the supreme enjoyment? Hearing this, the clerk's eyes brightened, and he smiled and said, Guest officer, it's a coincidence that you came today. Normally, we don't have an appointment on the 9th floor, so there is absolutely no place. It just so happens that a man who made an appointment today came here on a temporary basis. No, there's an empty spot. Okay, then it's the 9th floor, take me there. Xu Feng thought to himself, it's really a coincidence that he came sooner than later, it seems that his luck is good. The man was about to take Xu Feng upstairs when suddenly a woman's clear voice came from behind. Xiner, do you still have room on the 9th floor? It can be seen from the voice that its owner should be an extroverted and strong character. The guy had to stop. I'm sorry, miss, there just happens to be a seat, but this gentleman has already booked it just now. During this process, Xu Feng did not turn his head away. The woman looked at Xu Feng's back and shouted, Hey, can you give us your seat? I can pay for your meal. Xu Feng still didn't look back, feeling a little bit uncomfortable in his heart. What era is this really? Why are there always such people who love to pretend to be unreasonable? How did such an IQ person live and grow up so big? Since he can eat up to the 9th floor, will he be moved by a little money? Xu Feng didn't bother to reply to the owner of the voice, but said to Xiner, who was stunned aside, Let's go upstairs, what are you doing here? As he spoke, he didn't care about the mistress, and walked towards the stairs first. Hey, are you deaf? Didn't you hear me? Do you know who this lady is? Xu Feng still turned a deaf ear. This kind of child is really spoiled and has no normal IQ. Without the protection of his family, he probably won't survive a day. Seeing that Xu Feng couldn't be stopped, the woman behind her rushed forward and directly blocked Xu Feng's path. It was only then that Xu Feng was forced to see the face of the person in front of him clearly. He saw that the woman was wearing a man's bun and dressed in a man's attire. She was holding a delicate folding fan in her hand. Heroism, a kind of neutral heroism that men do not have. This kind of handsome girl disguised as a man. Xu Feng has also seen it in movies in modern times. For example, Brigitte Lin, or Zhang Min, the people in front of them are no worse than those Hong Kong actresses. Even because a real person is close in front of you, there is no impact. But with such a good skin, why is he so barbaric, without quality, and without IQ? Is it a big chest and no brains? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230. Thinking of this, Xu Feng unconsciously looked at the breasts of the woman in front of him. He really didn't pay attention before. This is unbelievable, although it is obvious that the woman in front of her is dressed as a man and must have corseted her breasts, but even so, she still can't stop the bulge on her chest. It is simply very obvious. The woman originally opened her arms to block Xu Feng angrily. However, she originally wanted to explode, but the moment she saw Xu Feng, she was also slightly absent-minded, because Xu Feng's entire spiritual temperament was really completely different from ordinary people. Cultivation has made his spirit completely detached. That invisible temperament, when you see his eyes, it is easy to be attracted unconsciously and fall into the trap. After being slightly absent-minded, she woke up and couldn't help blushing a little and her heart beating. Naturally, she didn't know that Xu Feng was caused by cultivation. But immediately, she found that the man in front of her was not looking at her face. She followed the other person's gaze and moved her gaze down, only to realize that the other person's gaze actually stayed at her own position. His face became more and more red, and he quickly covered his chest with his hands, and yelled, "Dirty." This sound had the aura of a lion roaring in the east of the river, and everyone on the first floor all looked sideways. In this way, this place has become the focus of the audience. Xu Feng also looked away, thinking that since he is a poor man with big breasts and no brains, he is not common sense. So once again ignoring the obstruction of the person in front of him, he prepared to make a detour upstairs. The woman was not willing to suffer. She opened the fan in her hand with a swipe, and pressed it against Xu Feng's neck. It turned out that the fan was actually a weapon, and it was made of refined steel. Xu Feng didn't take this woman seriously, but he knew that such a young lady who didn't know her identity would definitely not want to go out alone. He didn't turn around, but after a little sensing, he found that 2 steps behind him, 2 very powerful keys were firmly locked on his body. These 2 are definitely masters, and they are still very confident. If they dare to stay 2 steps away, they are confident that they can protect their master no matter what happens within this distance. Strictly speaking, Xu Feng estimated that these 2 people were indeed top experts in this plane. The feeling they gave him was even a little stronger than that of Yu Wenhuiji from Yangzhou. No wonder these 2 are so confident, but obviously they have a wrong perception of Xu Feng's strength, and they are not to blame. After all, as long as Xu Feng wants to hide his aura, no one in this world should be able to perceive his true strength. Xu Feng felt a little bit about the strength of the woman in front of him. She was the most common kind. Strictly speaking, she probably hadn't even started yet, and it was far from the one when she met in Yangzhou. Looking at the fan on his neck, Xu Feng finally got a little impatient. He opened his mouth and said, "Miss, do you think this is still your home? Did your parents teach you the principle of first come first? I want you to care." The woman's face was still red because of what happened just now. She stared at Xu Feng. "You have to give me this seat today." This girl finally came out. "Is it easy?" "Oh, really?" Xu Feng shook his head. "Then what if I insist on not letting go?" "Then you just toast and don't eat fine wine. Don't worry about my politeness." "You're welcome." Haha, Xu Feng was really amused by the silly and brainless girl in front of him. "Okay, if this is the case, then I will teach you a lesson for your parents, although I really don't want to fight with women." Hearing this, the woman started to fight first, and a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. She pushed forward with her fan, intending to cut off Xu Feng's neck. But in Xu Feng's eyes, her speed was too slow, like 960 frames in slow motion. Raising his hand lightly, he strangled the woman's wrist, and the next second, the fan was in his hand. The 2 people who were 2 steps away behind them only realized it at this moment, and attacked Xu Feng's back one after another. Sensing the murderous aura behind him, Xu Feng slapped back lightly. At the same time, he stretched out his other hand and slapped the woman in front of him directly. With a slap, he controlled his strength very well, and the slap was very painful, but it didn't really hurt Miss Jiao. After all, he is not a violent person, and he doesn't want to kill people just because of this little time. The 2 palms of the 2 people behind were all released by Xu Feng's light slap with his back to his body. It's so clever that it doesn't work. It's really like flowing clouds and flowing water, and it dissolves invisible. Those 2 obviously didn't expect Xu Feng's strength, and their faces were full of shock, but their master had already been beaten, and they had no choice but to launch an offensive again. On the other side, the woman was slapped in the face, and was also blinded for a while. She has been held in the hands of others since she was a child. Since she was a child, no one around her dared to disobey her, and no one even spoke to her loudly. But at this moment, she was actually slapped firmly by the person in front of her. She really couldn't believe it, but covering her face that was still burning and hurting, she had to believe it again. It took a long time before she recovered from the shock, covered her face, and tears flowed down unconsciously. She looked at Xu Feng, choked up, and said, You, unexpectedly, dare to hit me, I. She was really sad, and she was crying too hard, and she couldn't even say what she choked up. Xu Feng played with a tube behind with one hand, while waiting for the eldest lady to finish her words. What are you? I beat you, what do you want? Woo, I will definitely not let go. You're dressed in a heroic manner. She was crying like a little girl at this moment. Xu Feng unexpectedly saw a kind of contrast and cuteness in the big and brainless woman in front of him. Okay, I'm going to eat now. I'm waiting for you to settle accounts with me. I won't run away. After finishing speaking, Xu Feng used force behind his back, and easily sent the two masters flying upside down. Xiner, let's go. Lead the way. I'm going upstairs for dinner. The second child was just watching and stayed aside, but now he came back to his senses and had to lead the way according to his words, but there was more awe in the eyes looking at Xu Feng. That woman, after being slapped in the face, was really honest. When she saw Xu Feng walking by, she didn't dare to stop her, and she automatically moved out of the way. When Xu Feng walked past her, he sent a sentence to the woman's mind with a spiritual method. The woman who stood there dumbfounded with tears in her eyes suddenly became complicated. Those two subordinates barely got up from the ground at this moment, and came to the woman. Miss, please punish. My two brothers are not effective in protecting the Lord, and they are willing to be punished. The woman shook her head and said, Let's go back. After finishing speaking, he left the restaurant first. The diners on the first floor were also people of some status in Chang'an City. After the woman and Xu Feng left, they whispered and guessed the identity of the woman and Xu Feng. For a while, the discussion in the hall was very lively. On the other side, Xu Feng followed Xiner to the 9th floor. The roof of the building is divided into 3 separate cubicles by screens, and the screens are painted with exquisite landscapes, which look like the handwriting of famous masters. And there are many inscriptions on it, which are of extraordinary style. The private room that Xu Feng was in happened to face the north of Chang'an City, and he could see the imperial city. The design of the private room is very distinctive. The table stands by the windowsill is low. You can enjoy the scenery of Chang'an City while eating, and the Hongnan mountain outside the city in the distance can be seen faintly. This idea is good. The design is a bit like a modern tourist restaurant on a high-rise building. It seems that the business acumen of the ancients is not weaker than that of modern earthlings. Xu Feng ordered a few of the most expensive and classic dishes. His skill is actually not far from Bigu, but the delicious food in the world is sometimes not only for filling the stomach, but sometimes eating delicious food is a kind of enjoyment. Xu Feng felt that even if he was completely Bigu in the future, he would not give up the joy of eating. Chapter 231 Signature Dishes. 9 is a number with special meaning in ancient times. 9 is supreme, and 9 is extreme, representing a kind of supremacy. Therefore, the 9-story Yuelao building is indeed of extraordinary significance. Especially in this feudal era, it stands to reason that if ordinary people use the number 9, it may be risky. After all, the imperial power generally wants to be exclusive to things related to the supreme, and the emperor is the 9th 5-year supreme. Yuelao Tower can actually use the number of 9 extremes. It may indeed have a very large background, or it may be that in the Tang dynasty, the social atmosphere was still very open. After Xu Feng sat down, he ordered food for a table. Anyway, his money was his shortcoming. Along the way, the autumn wind was blown from the hands of the robbers, and most of them were scattered to the refugees along the way, but the rest was enough for him to have a serious meal. He is not familiar with Yuelao Tower, and he is even less familiar with the food of the Tang dynasty, so he directly asked Xiner to serve the same according to the signature dishes. He was also a little curious about the food on the most luxurious floor of the most luxurious restaurant in Chang'an. Tang, although I've been here for nearly a year, this is the first time I've had such a grand meal in a serious way. Before that, I spent half a year walking in the wilderness. At this time, don't know if chili has been introduced? Just as I had this question in my mind, the system's voice suddenly sounded, About the end of the 16th century, pepper was introduced to China. At that time, it was called fanjiao, which proves that pepper has been introduced into China and successfully cultivated at this time, but it has not been used in food and drink, only for ornamental purposes. During the Qianlong period of Qing dynasty, pepper began to be eaten as a vegetable by Chinese people. According to records, the Chinese who first ate pepper were all in the Yangtze River downstream, the so-called Zhejiang people. Because peppers were first introduced from overseas, Zhejiang people became the first batch of people who ate crabs. Xu Feng was taken aback. The system hadn't appeared for a long time. Why did it appear suddenly? Hey, why did you run out? I thought you were dead. If you don't come out again, I will almost forget about you. I only show up when you need me. I'm watching you secretly. Goodbye. The cold mechanical sound disappeared after it finished. Hey. Damn, it really disappeared. You can come and leave whenever you want. Xu Feng is also very depressed. The system is watching me secretly. Just thinking about it makes my spine feel a little chilled. Think about it, no matter what you are doing, whether you are eating or sleeping, drinking water or going to the toilet, or even doing things that are invisible to people, there is something watching you in the dark. Who can feel this feeling? Accepted? Since his realm has been further improved, Xu Feng actually feels that this system is unfathomable. Think about it, it can easily take itself through various planes. This kind of ability is simply terrifying. Although my current strength is at the top of this dating plane, even in this low-level world, I can't break even a single crack in the space. Even if you try your best, you may not be able to make the space send out a wave. But this system can transcend time and space, allowing itself to descend into myriad realms. This is at least something that can only be achieved by completely mastering the power of space and time. Just as Xu Feng was thinking about the system depressedly, all the dishes had already been served. The first dish served was served on a very delicate porcelain plate. The porcelain plate is as clear as ice, crystal clear and moist as jade, and its color is greenish-green and tea-green in color. Could this be the legendary Yuelao? Xu Feng has only seen it in the Palace Museum on modern Earth, and now he is lucky enough to be able to use this Yuelao as a utensil for eating. The Yaoai building is indeed worth the price. You must know that this Yuelao, even in the Tang dynasty, was specially provided by the royal family, and ordinary people should not even think about using it. And in this dark blue porcelain plate, there is a small piece of white square tofu. Xu Feng was very curious. Could this first appetizer be a piece of white tofu? Tofu here in Yuelao is definitely not just as simple as tofu. Xiner, is this tofu different from other places? There are 4 or 5 people who are dedicated to serve Xu Feng. Since it is the top restaurant in Danton, this kind of service is normal. One of the handsome young men stood up and introduced, "For Master Wei, the first dish is indeed a piece of white tofu, but the difference between it and other tofu lies in its material." "Oh, what's the difference in the materials?" Xu Feng humbly asked for advice. The beans used in this tofu are all grown on Zhongnan Mountain outside Chang'an City. According to legend, it is a soybean variety cultivated by Jin Tao Yuanming himself. Its yield is very small, and it can only grow on the sunny slopes at the foot of Zhongnan Mountain. The annual output is not large. More than 500 caddies. Xu Feng thought to himself, the beans that Tao Yuanming planted, breed, it sounds really bluffing, and it's limited. The ancients also understood hunger marketing. Another thing is that the water used to make this tofu is different. We use the unique dense spring on Tongshan Mountain. This spring water is very suitable for making tofu. It is very difficult to get water in the deep mountains of Tongshan Mountain. We invite Yuelao to use it every day. Only less than 5 buckets of water can be carried back manually. Xu Feng nodded, that's right, a simple tofu, using the beans grown by Tao Yuanming and Tongshan Miquan. I'll come and taste the difference. Use a spoon to scoop it into your mouth, and the tofu will melt in your mouth, leaving a fragrance in your mouth, which is the fragrance of soybeans. Xu Feng couldn't help stretching out his thumbs. I would like to give you a thumbs up. What you did is indeed okay. It's just too little. It's not fun. The boy smiled slightly, as if everything was under control. Master, as long as you are satisfied. Just then, the second dish came up. The plate for the second course has changed again. This time it is a pure white porcelain plate, like white jade, with walls as thin as a cicada's wings, without any decorations. It is a work of art. Xu Feng recognized it at a glance. He also saw this thing in the Forbidden City. It was the famous Xing kill in Tang Dynasty. If he remembers correctly, when he was looking at it in the museum, it seemed that there are very few Xing kills on the modern Earth. These 2 plates alone, if you get the modern Earth, are priceless treasures, and it is no problem to sell 1 or 200 million each. And in this wide jade plate, there is an egg. Xu Feng touched the minibus and felt that there was something really interesting about this Yuelao tower, at least it could surprise people. It was difficult to guess each of these food items. The boy who was waiting next to him was really well behaved. This time he stood up automatically without waiting to be asked. Master, let me introduce you to this second dish, Jialong eggs. Chapter 232 Flood Dragon Egg. Flood Dragon Egg. Xu Feng wondered if his ears heard it wrong. How could there be dragons in this world? Although this is the world of high martial arts, there is still an essential gap from the fantasy world. Seeing Xu Feng's surprise, the waiter was also a little proud. Basically, every guest had this reaction when they ate this dish. Xu Feng quickly sobered up. There is absolutely no such thing as a dragon in this world. He sensed the egg with his mind, and it was very ordinary. There was no war in it. So he asked, Xiner, your restaurant as big as Yuelao Tower, are you going to smash your own signboard? The dragon from Dadan. Xiner didn't panic, and explained, Master, how dare we deceive customers? This is indeed a dragon egg. This dragon lives in the big river, it is very rare, and it is even more difficult to find its eggs, so this is absolutely it is a delicacy that you can only eat in our Yuelao Tower. Dajiang? By Dajiang, do you mean the river that passes through Yangzhou? That's right, sir. This flood dragon only exists in the big river, and there is no such thing in the big river. Xiner explained patiently. Xu Feng knew that in the Tang Dynasty, Jiang specifically referred to the Yangtze River, and the river referred to the Yellow River. Only the Yangtze River had it and the Yellow River did not. Is it the alligator? In this way, Xu Feng remembered that the ancients often regarded crocodiles as dragons. So the one in front of you is the crocodile egg? Just as Xu Feng was thinking about the function of crocodile eggs and whether they were really edible, the system voice sounded in his mind again. Crocodile eggs are natural, healthy and high-grade nutritious foods that contain lecithin, collagen, taurine, and protein among the eggs in the world. Function: crocodile eggs can help children increase brain nutrition and improve memory. They can prevent the 3 highs of middle-aged and elderly people, arteriosclerosis and Alzheimer's disease, and at the same time can improve immunity. In addition, pregnant women eating crocodile eggs can also supplement fetal nutrition and improve fetal intelligence and physical development. So awesome. Xu Feng was really a little surprised. After all, he had never heard of anyone eating crocodile eggs in modern Earth. I didn't expect this thing to have such a high nutritional value, and the ancients would play and enjoy it. In this era without mythical beasts and fairy beasts, it is estimated that crocodile eggs are really a great tonic. Xu Feng picked up the egg, peeled off the shell and ate it, but there was no difference in taste from ordinary eggs. It doesn't taste like eggs, it's a bit like goose eggs. He was very satisfied. This trip to Yuelao was worthwhile, and he ate something new that he had never eaten before. The egg chef did not do any other processing, it was boiled directly in white water. For truly top-notch ingredients, any extraneous seasoning is superfluous. The truly top-notch ingredients are the most nutritious and delicious in themselves. The chefs here are really knowledgeable. In the following time, one dish after another will be served in turn. Every dish is exquisitely crafted, and it takes a lot of thought to see it. Some ingredients are very rare, and some cooking techniques are very special. But every dish has very little portion. Less but better. Yuelao is also very clear that people who come here to eat are not eating food. Come here to eat, not to satisfy your hunger, but to taste the taste of the food. So after more than 20 dishes were served, Xu Feng also finished eating. His stomach was just right, and he didn't feel full. Eat and drink enough, and the beautiful scenery of Chang'an is almost the same. The meal lasted until the afternoon, but when Xiner told the price, Xu Feng knew that his meal was really expensive. A total of 500 taels of silver, think about 20 taels of more than 500 dishes on average, each dish has close to 20 taels. And 20 taels, even in Chang'an City, is the annual income of an ordinary family. One dish eats up the income of an ordinary person for a year. Xu Feng calculated in his mind, if this meal is converted into modern RMB, it would be around 30. In fact, this 9-story building, although it is the most luxurious dining place in the entire Yuelao Tower, even the entire Chang'an, And the entire Tang Dynasty 500 taels is also a bit expensive, and other people who usually come to the 9th floor to spend will not get this price. The main reason is that Xu Feng eats all the signature dishes, each of which is ingenious, and the ingredients are precious, so the price is still acceptable. Xu Feng took a look at his storage space, and it happened to be left over from the bandits, no more, no less, 500 taels. He laughed at himself. I'm going back to pre-liberation in one night, and I've made myself poor with just one meal. Where will I go to make a living next? Looking at Chang'an under his feet, although it is the most luxurious capital city in this era. But in the afternoon, there were not many people on the main road, Suzaku Street. The population of 100 million in the entire city is nothing in modern times. Modern super cities have populations in the tens of millions. Looking along Suzaku Avenue, you can see a carriage with a very luxurious decoration. Pulling the cart were 4 tall horses with flushed skin and manes that shone brightly in the sun. The legendary sweaty BMW. Xu Feng's eyes were involuntarily attracted by this carriage, and it was hard not to be attracted by it. On the entire Suzaku Avenue, it stands out from the crowd. Apparently, there was a commotion on the street, and pedestrians gave way one after another. The decoration of this car is gorgeous and has a touch of femininity. Many details of its body are exquisitely decorated, such as the gauze sprinkled on the outside, the gauze as thin as cicada's wings. It is not difficult for people to guess that the person sitting in this car is a woman of great power and status. Passers-by looked sideways, watching the luxury car slowly pass by in front of their eyes. The sound of horseshoes resounded on the bluestone slab, crisp and loud. But in the dark, not only passers-by on both sides of the street were watching the carriage, but also Xu Feng, who was looking down from the 9th floor of Yuelao building. In a certain inn on both sides of the street, there was another mysterious person staring at the carriage. The mysterious man stood in the window on the 2nd floor of the inn facing the street. The window was open with a small gap, looking out at the carriage. She wears a hat on her head, which is made of reeds, and the gauze around it hangs down to her feet, covering her whole body. The gauze is white gauze, but it is opaque. It is obviously specially made to make it difficult for people to see her face clearly. She fixed her eyes on the carriage, watching it slowly pass by her window. In an instant, she moved, the window was directly broken by her, and she jumped down from the 2nd floor. He rushed to the carriage, and there were 2 drivers sitting in front of the carriage. Seeing the sudden change, he quickly reined in the horse. He flew up to stop this assassin who came out. Suddenly, the crowd was in a commotion, and the people watching the excitement dispersed in a rush. The street suddenly emptied. The 2 coachmen intercepted the assassin in midair. The 2 sides fought in the air instantly, but in a blink of an eye, the 2 drivers flew upside down. Unable to resist for a moment, the assassin continued to kill the person in the carriage with his sword. Chapter 233. Long time no see. The assassin's volley strike was like a goshawk catching its prey, and the speed at that moment was really lightning-like. And the 2 guards of the person in the car have been overturned. No one can save her, she is in danger. The people in the carriage didn't seem to be willing to sit still. At the last moment, they tried their best to break through the roof of the carriage, wanting to make a final desperate fight. The onlookers exclaimed one after another. It turned out that the person in the car was a woman, and she was dressed luxuriously, with a beautiful face, and a goose yellow gauze skirt, which was obviously woven with the best silk, as thin as a cicada's wing. It is embroidered with intricate patterns, mysterious and noble. Seeing that such a beautiful and noble flower is about to die under the assassin's sword, the crowd of onlookers lamented regretfully. However, among these people, no one has the ability and no time to organize. The woman in Chinese clothes and the assassin had already fought in a moment, and the woman didn't die by the sword immediately, but fought the assassin. However, with just one move, the sword in her hand that was studded with gems was knocked into the air. Although it can be seen that he has good martial arts skills, he is still too weak in front of this assassin. The veiled assassin showed no mercy, and immediately stabbed the woman in Chinese clothes in the neck with one move. Among the onlookers, many people did not want to see this cruel scene, and some of them closed their eyes. The 2 guards of the woman in Hawaii yelled not to, but unfortunately they were lying on the side of the street, and they had no strength to stand up to stop them. The woman in Chinese clothes knew that she was bound to die, so she simply closed her eyes, waiting for that moment to come. But a second passed. 2 seconds passed. 3 seconds passed. Nothing happened. The onlookers didn't hear the screams they imagined, and slowly opened their eyes hesitantly, all exclaiming. The woman in Hawaii didn't know why she wasn't dead yet. She heard the voices of the crowd and slowly opened her eyes. But he found a tall figure standing in front of him. There was a person who actually blocked the sword for himself. But she couldn't see his face, she could only see his back. He was very close to her, and she could smell the breath of his body, a calming breath. Looking at this figure from the back, she suddenly felt that this figure was extremely majestic, almost radiant. Facing death just now, she just closed her eyes calmly and went to die. But at this moment, looking at this figure, she thought that she had just walked through the gate of hell, but tears fell down without disappointment. The assassin, the man under the black veil, with those seductive eyes, saw the person standing in front of his sword at this moment. All kinds of complex emotions flashed in her eyes, including shock, joy, and a trace of resentment, but in the end she only uttered 2 words, "It's you, it's me." The person who blocked the sword was none other than Xu Feng, who had eaten enough before. Originally, he was standing on the 9th floor of the Yuelao building, just to enjoy the scenery after eating and to be a spectator. Although the movement here attracted his attention, it was not worth his shot. But at the moment when the assassin was performing his skills, he suddenly had a feeling and recognized the assassin as Wanwen. He is very familiar with Wanwen's skill fluctuations. And even though the assassin was covered in a black veil, under the detection of his divine sense, his face was still unobstructed. Originally, this was an irrelevant matter. Wanwen, a witch from the demon cult, wanted to kill someone, and he also had a sense of justice, so he came to stop her. It was only when he saw the 2 coachmen that he remembered that these 2 were the subordinates of the tomboy who wanted to rob him of the 9th floor of Yuelao Tower. The woman, who was obviously disguised as a man, didn't know where to go to eat after being chased away by herself. But at that time, he also vaguely guessed from the communication between the master and the servants that the identity of this woman was not simple. Now that the carriage is so luxurious, it further confirms the previous guess. Knowing that the woman appeared from the carriage, he saw her clothes and the embroidery on it clearly showed her identity. It was only then that Xu Feng decided to take action. His target here was the Li family, and Zhang Chao had no way of attacking. If the woman in the carriage was really the identity he guessed, then there would be a breakthrough. Although there is a horizontal distance of 2 kilometers between the 9th floor of Yuelao Tower and the center of Zhu Street, the vertical distance is also 90 meters. And at the same time, Wanwen's sword was only 1 meter away from the woman in Chinese clothes. In this world, it is estimated that no one can stop this killing. But it's just that Xu Feng is not from this world, he is in existence beyond the rules of this world. So the impossible will happen to him. At the moment when he moved, the afterimage was still on the 9th floor of Yuelao, but his people were already standing in front of Wanwen. With just 1 finger, he withstood the lightning-like sword. After half a year, Wanwen's skill seems to have improved a lot. From the sword body, there was a sinister internal force that was transmitted to Xu Feng's body. This force is like a poisonous snake, trying to gnaw at the tendons, but unfortunately it was in Xu Feng's body, but what he encountered was an unprecedented disaster. A pure spiritual force, like the flood of the Yangtze River, instantly submerged it in the torrent nowhere to be seen. If this sword was taken by someone else, it would definitely be useless, and it would be crippled even if it was not dead. Both of them recognized each other. These 2 simple words contained a lot of rich information. At this time, the 3 of them were actually on the roof of the carriage. And all of this happened in an instant. A moment is sometimes very short, but sometimes, for some people, it is very long, so long that many things can happen. When she grows up to be a young girl, she may have already made a secret promise in her mind, and even get married and have a child in the future, and the child's name is already decided. This is all possible. For example, the person involved at this moment, the woman standing behind Xu Feng, has experienced all kinds of things in her heart. And at this time, the officers and soldiers guarding the city of Chang'an finally arrived late. Wanwen knew that with Xu Feng around, she would never have another chance for this assassination. So she also planned to retreat, but the person in front of her had been looking for him for the past 6 months. She didn't expect it to be half a year since the farewell outside the city of Yangzhou. In the past 6 months, he seemed to have evaporated from the world. Even though she was in charge of the Yinka sect, there were many eyeliners among her disciples, and there was no news at all. How did she know that Xu Feng walked from Yangzhou to Chang'an in the past 6 months? using painstaking efforts to sharpen his body and mind, and overcome the bottleneck of his cultivation. The places he passed were deserted and inhabited, so how could anyone know his whereabouts? Although in Yangzhou City, she only got along with him for half a month, but for some reason, she had a special feeling for Xu Feng. She herself didn't know what this feeling was. But in the past 6 months, without any news from him, her yearning for him, and some inexplicable feelings, are sprouting. She is very angry sometimes, angrily killing people to vent her anger. She hates this feeling. But this thing seemed to be a kind of poison, and she couldn't get rid of it no matter what. At this moment, under such circumstances, suddenly, without warning, he appeared before her eyes. Her heart was filled with dozens of emotions. She seemed to have a lot of things she wanted to say to Xu Feng, but she couldn't get out before she reached her mouth, especially in such a situation. In the end she just said softly, "Haven't seen you for a long time." Then he flew up to the roof next to the street. Several rabbits rose and fell, but no one was seen in the blink of an eye. Chapter 234 Song Yazi. Wanwan took the initiative to retreat, while the guards in the city had already dispersed the onlookers and surrounded the luxury carriage. The first person, with a square face and beard, knelt down first and said, "The last general came too late to save you, which frightened the princess. Please punish me." Xu Feng gave up his position at this time. Hearing this address, he knew that his guess was correct. The one called the princess was exactly the woman Xu Feng rescued. She waved her hand. "You all get up, I'm fine, thanks to this righteous man for saving me." As she said that, she was about to thank Xu Feng, but when she saw Xu Feng's face, she yelled, "It's you." Xu Feng knew that he was in the Yuelao tower just now, and the princess was embarrassed, and said with a smile, "Yes, it's me." The princess's mind was confused for a while. She didn't expect that the hero who saved her was the annoying person just now. But it didn't take long for her to feel this way, and she gradually accepted the reality, and when she looked at Xu Feng, she didn't think it was that bad, and she was quite handsome. "I didn't know you were a princess just now, so I offended you so much, so please don't blame the princess." Xu Feng said. "There, oops, it's a trivial matter, but since you saved me, a person with clear grievances, tell me what kind of reward I need." "Oh, princess, I really need your help. I just arrived in Chang'an, and all the money I had on me was spent in the Yuelao building just now. Now I'm penniless. You see, I'm going to die soon. It's getting dark, I might be sleeping on the street tonight, and I'm asking the princess to take me in." This princess is Li Shimin's younger sister, Li Xiner. The Li family has Xianbi blood, and she followed her elder brother since she was a child, riding horses and archery, wielding knives and guns, and doing everything. It can be regarded as a woman who does not give up to a man, and her personality is actually very strong, not that of a little girl. That's why they competed with Xu Feng when they invited Yuelao. Although I was between life and death just now, I was in a trance for Xu Feng for a moment, which awakened the girl's heart deep in my heart. But now she has slowly recovered, and she has no doubts when she hears that Xu Feng has nowhere to go. Immediately said, "Then since you have no place to go, you should first live in my princess mansion." Xu Feng secretly prays that this woman is not simple. The carriage has been destroyed, but a few hard-earned BMWs are fine. Li Xiner rode one by himself, pointed to the other and said to Xu Feng, "Get on the horse." The two guards who were knocked aside also climbed up at this time, but they obviously knew themselves. This horse was the princess's most beloved treasure, and they were not qualified to ride it. Just lead the horse and follow behind. Some of the city guards escorted Li Xiner back to the mansion, and some stayed behind to clean up the scene. Suzaku Street is really wide. Riding a horse on this street, people will feel a little drifting. The Li family is doing well in Chang'an. The princess mansion is located in the north of Chang'an City, close to the imperial city, and occupies a large area. Although Li Xiner is not married yet, Li Yuan granted her the right to have her own mansion. The main reason is that she wields knives and guns, and even goes out to fight with Li Shimin, so she is also happy to have her own independent mansion. When they arrived at the princess mansion, Li Xiner asked the servant to arrange a guest room for Xu Feng. Xu Feng returned to his room, asked his servants to fetch water for him, and took a good bath. Now that he is close to Li Xiner, it is not a problem to see Li Shimin. But Xu Feng was more troubled that although he said he believed that the boat would go straight when it reached a bridge. But now that the boat has seen the end, it still has no clue. He was in distress when a servant girl knocked on the door. "Master Su, the princess asked me to treat you to dinner." "Okay." Xu Feng let go of his thoughts, got up and went out, followed the maid, and went to the main hall. This tank-style building is very distinctive, and there are many differences from the modern Forbidden City, the buildings of the Ming and Qing dynasties. Chao Shao veranda is very poetic and picturesque. It was already dark at this time, and there was a lantern every 5 steps in the veranda, but there was no sense of darkness at all. The princess mansion is really big. Xu Feng followed the maid and walked for 10 minutes before arriving at the main dining hall. Just about to enter the door, "When I meet another person, I also want to enter the door." She is dressed like a servant, she has a very petite figure, but her face is beautiful, and her clothes are also very distinctive. Xu Feng didn't know where the other party was coming from, so he smiled and let the other party go in first as a gentleman. In the hall, there is an 8-treasure round table, which is full of a large table of dishes. There were as many as 5 or 6 maids serving by the side, but Li Xuning was the only one sitting at the table. The woman who went in first bounced up to Li Xuning, took her hand and acted like a baby. Obviously the relationship between the two is very good. Li Xuning chatted and laughed with her, and when she saw Xu Feng coming in, she stood up. The woman was obviously very surprised. She was a little curious about the origin of this man, who actually made the princess stand up to greet him. Xu Feng didn't care, all the powers in this world were just clouds to him, so he didn't feel that way. This feeling is very strange. When you drift away from this world, those things that are considered very important in this world have nothing to do with you. Your mindset will make a huge difference. Of course, the reason why Xu Feng felt this way was inseparable from his great strength. If you are an ordinary person without any strength to protect yourself, even if you have traveled through time, then you still have to adapt to the rules of this world. After all, no matter where you are, speaking with your fists is right. Although a civilized society, the nature of human beings, relying on the strong and bullying the weak, will not change. Even on the modern Earth, those countries that claim to be civilized societies do the same thing. Whoever has the biggest fist is justified. The three sat down. Li Xuning took the initiative to introduce to Xu Feng, "This is my good sister Song Yazi." Then introduced Xu Feng to Song Yazi, "This is, he must be my savior." Song Yazi's eyes widened, so he saved you during the day." She kept looking at Xu Feng with her big eyes curiously. She and Li Xuning were best friends who talked about everything. When Li Xuning returned home in the afternoon, she kept pulling her to talk, not even hiding her subtle thoughts from her. So Song Yazi was very curious when she heard it in the afternoon. She knew her sister very well, so she was curious about what kind of person could make even Li Xuning fall in love. Li Xuning smiled and said, "I specially ordered the chef to cook this table of dishes. Try it and see how it compares to the one you ate at Yuelao at noon." Xu Feng thought to himself, this princess is quite caring, so he picked a few to try. After eating this, I feel that the cook of the princess mansion is not simple, and it is not worse than the one eaten at noon. From the creativity of the dishes to the taste of the ingredients, it can be said that they are comparable. And Li Xuning has been paying close attention to Xu Feng's face, and she is looking forward to Xu Feng's evaluation. Xu Feng said, "Princess, you are in the midst of blessings and don't know how to be blessed. The food cooked by the cook in your house is no worse than that in Yuelao. Why are you still rushing out to eat?" Li Xuning breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time hummed, "If you eat too much food in your house, you will get tired of it. Can't I change the taste?" Chapter 235. Of course, you are a princess after all. Xu Feng thought to himself, why does this princess feel different from what she remembered? The Li Xuning in my impression is a royal sister type, mature and steady, who can accompany Li Shimin in the battle, and she can also be on her own. But the one in front of him likes to be coquettish and playful, and always feels that something is wrong. Hey, please speak politely. Although you saved Xi, you must know that it is impossible between you two. It was Song Yazi who spoke, and Xu Feng looked confused, but he hadn't waited for him to speak. Li Xuning couldn't bear it first. "Yazi, what are you talking about?" She gave Song Yazi a hand. Song Yazi snorted, "Sister Xuning, he's just an ordinary brat, he's not worthy of..." "You still say?" Li Xuning's complexion changed a little. Only then did Song feel that he had said something wrong, but he didn't take it seriously, sticking out his tongue cutely. Li Xuning looked helpless, but she still smiled. Xu Feng was very speechless in his mind, but he really didn't know what to say about this kind of thing. Is this Song Yazi out of his mind? All he thinks about is messed up all day long. This is the third time he and Li Zining have met, and it took less than a day for each of them. This little girl is simply messing around and warning blindly. How did this IQ live to such a high level? But seeing that she is commensurate with sister Li Zining, and she is not inferior to Li Zining, it seems that her family is really powerful. Her father, Xiandao Song, is the head of the Song clan, the largest clan in the south of the Yangtze River. The Song clan and the Li family have a very good relationship. Speaking of which, Song Yazi did have confidence. In terms of strength, the Song clan was no weaker than the Li family. I don't know what the two princesses are doing. Xu Feng quickly finished eating, and then said, "You two, I'm done eating, I'll go back and rest first." Li Zining hesitated to speak. Originally she wanted to ask Xu Feng something, but Song Yazi was at the side, so she couldn't speak, so she said, "Okay, Mr. Xu, go and rest." Xu Feng cupped his hands, stood up and left. As soon as he turned around, he heard Song Yazi standing up with a whoosh, "I'm full too, and I'm going back to rest too. Let's go." After speaking, he quickly bounced and went out. Not long after Xu Feng walked, he sensed a person following behind him. He didn't even have to look back, he knew who it was. I had no choice but to stop, turned around and said, "Why are you following me?" The person behind him followed so closely that he couldn't break all of a sudden and threw himself into his arms. Then screamed quickly again, and bounced away. Xu Feng was embarrassed. That person was Song Yazi who came out from behind. Her face was flushed with embarrassment, although her personality was very feminine, but this was the first time she had such close physical contact with a boy, except of course with her father. Fortunately, the night was dark, and the red palace lanterns on the corridor shone on her face, so she couldn't tell that she was blushing. But her heart still beats much faster than normal. But although the lights were dim, none of these could escape Xu Feng's perception. Since his cultivation has entered a new realm, his perception of the surrounding environment has reached a terrifying level. It can be said that as long as he is willing, there are no secrets in this world in his eyes. But most of the time, he still doesn't take the initiative to detect these. Because at the beginning, when I found that I could perceive all the things around me, it was very novel and exciting. But after a long time, Xu Feng felt very tired. Sometimes knowing more is really not a happy thing. There is no saying in life that it is rare to be confused. So Xu Feng usually doesn't take the initiative to detect and perceive everything. Only when he is particularly interested in something, or someone, or in danger. For example, at this moment, because Song Yazi suddenly bumped into his arms. His body's defense mechanism automatically activated the ability to detect, so he saw everything about Song Yazi. But that's nothing, it's just a little girl's shyness. "Hey, let me ask you something, what happened?" What Song Yazi woke up with a start, but she immediately knew her situation. She came out to warn this kid, why now her aura is gone. No, she must find her place in aura. HMPH, why are you talking so loudly? I'm not deaf. Is there? Girl, your ears are not good. I have to speak louder. I'm so mad, what's wrong with your ears? Song unfolded the lion's roar technique, and the roaring sound was heard far, far away in the night. Several maids in the distance heard the sound and were about to run over. Do not come. The lion's roar continued, and the statues of the maids were immobilized, and they did not dare to take a step forward. Song Yazi was like an angry kitten, full of attack power, and she pointed the finger at Xu Feng again. I'm so mad, you man. Don't try to change the subject for me. How do I transfer? Shut up. Xu Feng was speechless, but could he be angry with such a girl? Song Yazi's figure is really petite, probably less than 1.6 meters. Standing in front of Xu Feng, who is more than 1.8 meters tall, she has to raise her head and look at Xu Feng. But she is really quite brave, with a petite figure, full of explosive power, and not weak in momentum. With a flushed face, she said angrily, I just want to tell you that no matter how good your martial arts are, you are still just a nobody, and Li Zining, she is a princess, you have no chance, don't make mistakes, you know. Xu Feng had black lines on his face, this little girl was really speechless. He didn't bother to argue with her, Confucius was right, women and villains are difficult to deal with. I'd better go back quickly and stay away from right and wrong. Thinking of this, I stopped talking, turned around and went to my room. When Song Yazi saw this person, he ignored him and was even angrier. He quickly walked in front of Xu Feng and opened his arms. "Stop, you man, what's the matter with you? Did you hear what I said?" "Heard it." Xu Feng responded helplessly, then continued to bypass her and continued walking. "Hey, what else? Is this the end?" Song Yazi continued to catch up and stopped Xu Feng. "Otherwise? What do you want me for?" Xu Feng became a little impatient, finally stood still, and then looked directly at Song Yazi for the first time. No, it can't be called looking straight, it should be looking down, because the woman in front of her is really too petite, like a lolly. As for Song Yazi, she wanted to say something more, but suddenly she felt an inexplicable pressure. It was also the first time for her to look directly at Xu Feng, and she looked up at the person in front of her. But the eyes of the other party are like a galaxy, inside is an abyss, a void, a black hole that can absorb all light. Under his eyes, she unconsciously felt that she was so small. She even had the urge to kneel unconsciously. "Sorry, I made a mistake in the last chapter. It should be chapter 233, not chapter 333. Chapter 236 You Beast." Xu Feng accidentally leaked a bit of His Majesty. He was really angered by Song Yazi. This little girl is too annoying, she keeps nagging on, and where did she know what she meant for Li Xiner? Or how to put it, this woman is an emotional animal, born for feelings, no matter what the gods can think of that. But after all, he was still an ordinary person, so Xu Feng immediately restrained himself and hid his coercion. It took less than a second for him to reveal his coercion, but in just this second, the pressure on Song Yazi in front of him was already strong enough. When Xu Feng regained his senses and withdrew his coercion, the petite person in front of him couldn't stand upright, and was about to collapse to the ground. Xu Feng had no choice but to reach out to support the person in front of him. But I didn't expect that. What I got was the divine body of tranquility. Hello, what are you doing? Xu Feng really didn't know this woman's tricks, he just wanted to help her. Why did he collapse in his arms? After shaking it a few times, there was no response. Xu Feng saw that Song Yazi had already passed out. No way, is it so exaggerated? Xu Feng was a little stunned. He didn't expect that the little coercion he unintentionally released would actually make this little girl faint. Now the little girl fainted. Xu Feng looked around in embarrassment, trying to find a servant girl to take her away. But just now, those maids were all chased away by herself, so now no one around has seen them. Isn't it over? I don't know where this little girl's room is. Xu Feng was very distressed. Although he was very capable, he really had no choice but to find out who this girl was in the vast princess mansion room to come. Do you want to wake her up? But this is a bit too cruel, and Xu Feng knows that this will not be good for her health. She fainted from fright. The automatic protection mechanism of body functions. If I forcibly wake her up at this time, it may cause damage to her body. It is best to wait for her to wake up naturally. That's the only way to do it. Xu Feng could only helplessly hug her up and continue walking to his room. The person in his arms has a small body and is very light. To Xu Feng, it is like nothing. And it's very soft. Maybe the person passed out. The muscles are naturally relaxed. Xu Feng has a strange feeling. What he is holding seems to be a ball of cotton. He has never seen a woman with such a soft body, although he has not had such contact with girls a few times. But for now, Song Yazi is indeed the best. Could this be the legendary soft girl? As soon as the idea came up, Xu Feng quickly shook his head to deny his stupid idea. How could this girl be a soft girl? When he was alive and kicking, his aura and aggressive look were like an aggressive kitten. But at least at this moment, this kitten has no attack power. From Song Yazi's body, there was also a faint fragrance unique to women. This kind of fragrance is not the smell of the external perfume, but the smell that belongs to her alone. Xu Feng discovered that every woman seemed to have her own unique taste. Especially after he entered a new realm and had a clearer perception of the surrounding environment and the world, he was more certain about this matter. That is, every woman has a unique fragrance. And it belonged exclusively to women. He didn't find it on men. It is not difficult for Xu Feng to know a woman by smelling her fragrance. Every woman's fragrance is unique. And Song Yazi in my arms at the moment, her fragrance is like orchids in the dark night. Holding Song Yazi all the way back to the guest room, the strange thing is, along the way, I really didn't see a servant girl. Go to the room and put her on your bed. Looking at the sleeping Song Yazi, Xu Feng suddenly felt that this girl was a little cute, of course at this moment. Because of her small stature, her entire head and face were also unusually small. The small face, which is less than the size of a palm, has unusually harmonious facial features, curved willow leaf eyebrows, and a cute small mouth. The overall facial features are very harmoniously distributed, making people look very comfortable. She doesn't belong to that kind of stunning beauties, but she can be regarded as attractive beauties. The more she looks, the more bright and flavorful she is. Hey, what am I doing? I actually peeked at a girl. Xu Feng realized that he was looking at Song Yazi unconsciously. But fortunately, there are only the two of them in this room, and no one else will find out. But there is only one bed in the room, and Song Yazi sleeps on the bed, so where do I sleep? Xu Feng realized that he had really made a mistake. He shouldn't have brought this unruly kitten back. Now that it's all over, he has no place to sleep. It's impossible to take advantage of others' danger to sleep with her, right? Xu Feng couldn't do such a thing even if he killed him. Helpless, fortunately, Xu Feng can now practice meditation instead of practicing, so Xu Feng can only comfort himself, thinking that it is only for practicing the exercises more diligently. After all, I am in this world, and my current strength is more than sufficient, but what about the future? After leaving this world, he still has to go to many, many worlds. What do those unknown dangers and his own abilities count for? Thinking of this, Xu Feng suddenly felt that he was a bit depraved. He has been invincible in this world for a long time, and without the pressure of competition, it is easy for people to relax. In this way, Xu Feng spent the night in cultivation. It takes a quarter of an hour for a small circle to revolve, and exactly 1 hour for a big circle. When the 10 big cycles had just been completed, a piercing voice sounded at the same time, pulling Xu Feng back from his cultivation state. That harsh voice came from the bed. The place where Xu Feng meditated was on the table facing the bed. In the morning, Song Yazi woke up from the coma. After a night of lethargy, she was completely fine and was about to stretch. Unexpectedly, when he opened his eyes, he found Xu Feng sitting on the table and meditating. Her mind was blank for a few seconds, and slowly her mind began to turn again. She began to think about where she was, and then she remembered that she suddenly couldn't remember anything last night. Only the last impression she remembered was that person's eyes, which were very dark. And now I saw him just after waking up. Could it be that I was? I'm going to kill you. With a crying voice, she lifted the quilt all at once, and rushed towards Xu Feng while shouting. Xu Feng let out a breath, and the breath circled him for 9 weeks, and it lasted for a long time. This was the breath he had practiced all night. With another breath, the air was sucked into his lower abdomen again. Opening his eyes, he looked at Song Yazi who was rushing out of the bed, and said calmly, "You can shout louder, it's best to call all the maidservants here." When the voice fell to the ground, Song Yazi's high decibel shout of killing stopped abruptly. Her little face was flushed with anger, and she held back, pointing her finger at Xu Feng's nose, gasping for breath. After a long time, she finally choked out a sentence, "You skinny." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Ye Xiner. I'm a beast? I didn't do anything. Xu Feng looked innocent, thinking to himself, although he secretly watched you last night, he did not do anything else. You're still arguing, then how could I be in your room? How could I be on your bed? Song Yazi deliberately lowered her voice, but still couldn't hide her anger. Who knows what happened to you last night? You fainted suddenly, and then I couldn't find the maid, and I didn't know your room, so I had to bring you back. If I knew it earlier, I shouldn't be a good person. Xu Feng didn't know why. He was originally a quiet person, but when he met Song Yazi, he always subconsciously attacked and fought back. Although Song Yazi was helpless, it was not easy to struggle verbally. Now the fact is that she, the daughter of the Song family, a big girl with yellow flowers, somehow ran into this man's room and spent the night. This matter must never be known. Yes, absolutely no one shall know. She turned her mind around, glanced at the sky outside the window, and found that the genius had just dawned, but before long, those maids would come in to help the master wash up, and she had to return to her room before then. You can't tell anyone about this, otherwise, I will definitely kill you. Song Yu threatened Xu Feng fiercely. Don't worry, I don't have the time to do these things, you should go back quickly, otherwise, even if I don't tell you, everyone in the princess mansion will know about it. Song Yazi quickly climbed out of bed. Her clothes were in good condition because Xu Feng didn't touch her last night. After sleeping all night, there were some wrinkles in some places. She stood up and weighed the clothes. Seeing that her clothes had not been tampered with, she felt an inexplicable trust in Xu Feng in her heart. This person really didn't do anything last night. Is he so unattractive? Could it be that he really likes Li Xuning and has no interest in him at all? For some reason, her thoughts turned to a messy place in her mind. Hey, why are you standing there stupidly? Are you going to leave or not? Those maids are really coming in soon. Xu Feng looked at Song Yazi, standing in front of the bed, his face turned red and then pale, and he glanced at himself from time to time. He really couldn't figure out what this little girl was thinking. Xu Feng's voice woke up Song Yazi, and she was ashamed of her wild thoughts. She gave Xu Feng a hard look, then carefully opened the door, and after confirming that there was no one else nearby, she quickly slipped out like a kitten. Looking at Song Yazi's back, Xu Feng smirked. This kitten is really funny. On the surface, she is very domineering and very royal, but compared with her body and face, she really has no power at all. On the contrary, she has a kind of contrasting cuteness inexplicably. Xu Feng stayed in the princess mansion like this. Knowing that he had no place to live, Li Xuning arranged for him to be a guest of the princess manor after asking his opinion. In fact, Xu Feng was waiting for an opportunity. Before he arrived in Chang'an, he hadn't thought of a specific way to deal with the Li family. At that time, he had the idea that the boat would go straight to the bridge. Now, the ship has reached the bridge, but there is still no way. But all we can do is wait. Opportunities will appear while waiting. Of course, humans are different from other animals in that they have subjective initiative. Sometimes people can create their own opportunities and create opportunities. During this period of time, that Song Yazi also stayed at the princess mansion. She often troubled Xu Feng, and came to him whenever she had nothing to do, but because Xu Feng had a handle, she didn't dare to go too far. Xu Feng was also bored while waiting for the opportunity, but he was happy to have someone to play with him. That's right, Song Yazi's actions were all play in his eyes, just like a child's heart, and he didn't take it seriously. He didn't know why the daughter of the Song clan had been living in the princess mansion. Could it be that she was a hostage in Chang'an? But from my own understanding of Dadan, it seems that this is not the case. But he didn't ask Song Yazi directly. Anyway, this matter has little to do with his business, so he still doesn't want to meddle in others' business. Just like that, a month has passed. On this day, Xu Feng was pondering a set of ideas in the small courtyard where he lived, when a young servant came and said, Master Xu, Princess, please go to the front hall. Without asking any more questions, he followed the boy to the front hall. Before reaching the front hall, he heard Song Yazi's chattering voice from afar, as if he heard something like Brother Shimin. Xu Feng was overjoyed. Could it be that Li Shimin came? Although he has been in the princess mansion for almost a month, he has not seen Li Shimin once. He also asked Li Xuning insinuatingly, saying that Li Shimin led the troops to fight outside. After a while, I followed the boy to the hall, and saw a 25-year-old young man sitting in the hall, wearing a black dark pattern robe. Recognized. Xu Feng could even perceive some other things. There seemed to be a wave of qi hovering above the young man's head. The next ones to sit are Li Xuning and Song Yazi. Seeing Xu Feng coming in, Li Xuning took the initiative to stand up. Brother, this is the person I told you to save my life. His name is Xu Feng. Li Shimin didn't immediately greet Xu Feng, but carefully examined Xu Feng with his eyes. He had just returned to Chang'an from the front battlefield, changed his battle clothes, and came to the house of his beloved sister. Unexpectedly, at this hour, my sister kept mentioning the person who saved her life, and that girl Song Yazi. Although the tone was hateful, she still kept talking about this person. He was very surprised in his heart. He was afraid of someone with unclean background, plotting evil. When he heard that his sister had kept that guy in the house for a month, he was even more worried. At this moment, Xu Feng was in front of his eyes, and he looked at Xu Feng, trying to see something from him. He thinks that he still has a way of judging people. If it is really someone who is planning to do something wrong, He will definitely drive this person out of the princess mansion without mercy. However, he found that he couldn't see through Xu Feng at all. In front of him, it seemed to be a high mountain, and it seemed to be the sea. He couldn't see Xu Feng clearly. Second brother, what are you doing staring at him? After Li Xuning saw his introduction, Li Ximin kept looking at Xu Feng in a daze, and couldn't help asking. Haha, you really are a good-looking talent. My dear brother, Li Ximin, thank you for saving my sister that day. After all, Li Ximin is a man of the city, and when he found that he couldn't see through Xu Feng, he planned to stand still for the time being. Xu Feng's exploration of Li Ximin is naturally like a mirror in his heart, and that foggy feeling is what he deliberately let Li Ximin feel. After the two sides got to know each other, they sat down again. Li Ximin said to Li Xuning, Xi, when I come back from the front this time, I actually have one thing to do. Second brother, just tell me what you have to say. Li Xuning regained her princess-like demeanor in front of Li Ximin. Chapter 238 Who is real? It's like this. Our army currently lacks good horses. There have been many wars recently, and the loss of horses is very serious. Therefore, when I return to Chang'an this time, I want to solve this problem myself. Li Ximin said. Short horse. Li Xuning pondered for a while. Second brother, have you thought about where to buy horses? Well, I asked someone about it. There were no large-scale horse farms in the Central Plains. The real good horses are only found on the Turkic side of the Mobei grassland. But the Turkic people are sworn enemies with us Han people. They must not. Maybe he sold the horse to us. I am also having a headache about this matter, and I came to you this time to discuss with you. Xu Feng listened to it and thought it was amazing that Li Ximin would consult with Li Xuning when he had something to do. He really didn't realize before that there was anything outstanding about this Li Xuning. Regarding horses, this has indeed been a difficult problem in ancient China. Because the Han people have no good horses, they have always been at a disadvantage when they invaded by the barbarians in the north. Raising horses requires a large enough pasture for them. Generally speaking, a horse needs an area of about 1 square kilometer to raise. If thousands of horses are raised at the same time, a large area of several thousand hectares of grassland is required. This is very easy to achieve in Mobei and the Mongolian plateau, because those places are sparsely populated, they are nomadic people, and ordinary people also have horses. But in the mainland of the Central Plains, all these conditions are difficult to achieve. Because the Central Plains has always been a farming culture, every land that can be cultivated is used to grow crops, which is why so many people can be fed. Where can I find such a large area of open space and build a special pasture to raise horses? There is no such condition, and there is no such tradition. Therefore, the mainland of the Central Plains has always lacked large-scale horse farms. But lack does not mean absence. Those conditions are only said to be difficult to achieve, but as long as the government is determined to raise horses, it can be completely worthy of the grassland people. Meng Yuan in the Qin dynasty led the Han cavalry, but the Huns were more than, miles north, and the Hu people dared not go south to herd horses. During the Han dynasty, Wei King Heroquibeng also brutally abused the Xiongnu. The Han cavalry at that time were stronger than the cavalry in Mobei. However, raising horses is not part of the nature of the Han people, and raising horses wastes too much land, which is not in the economic interest. Therefore, as long as it is in peacetime, there will be no dedicated people in the Central Plains to raise horses. At this moment Li Ximin said that he was short of horses. Xu Feng was not surprised, but what was unexpected was that he asked Li Xuning to discuss this kind of matter. Could this princess do anything? Li Xuning said, Second brother, I can take people to need to find the ranch, and I will definitely solve this problem for our family. Li Ximin shook his head and sighed, I'm afraid it's not that easy. I've sent many people to inquire before. Xu Feng was a little puzzled. Isn't there a Pegasus ranch in the world of Tang Dynasty? It seems that in the original book, the Li family went to the Pegasus ranch to buy horses. Why is it that Li Ximin and Li Xuning seem to have never heard of it at the moment? Could it be that the traffic was inconvenient in ancient times and the news was really too closed? Second brother Li, I do know that there is a place that specializes in raising horses. It was actually Song Yazi who spoke. Li Ximin's face couldn't help being happy when he heard it, and he couldn't help but took a step forward. Yazi, do you know where there is a horse seller? That's right, I mentioned it when I heard my father and brother talk. Song Yazi said playfully. Xu Feng was speechless for a while. Could it be that Song Yazi provided Li Shimin with the news about the Pegasus Ranch? It seems to be the same. In the original book, it is indeed the Pegasus Ranch that Song Yazi went to with Ye Xiner. But this Song Yazi is too stupid and sweet. His father is also a tyrant in the south, and he may not have no ambition to fight for the world. He just easily disclosed this news that can be regarded as a military secret to a man who is temporarily friends, but people whose future is uncertain. Naive, really naive? Xu Feng looked at Song Yazi's silly look, shook his head, and murmured, "It's really big breasts and no brains." No, it seems that the breasts are not big. Hey, what are you mumbling about shaking your head? Are you planning some bad idea again? Song Yazi didn't answer Li Shimin's words, but asked Xu Feng who was beside him. Because of Xu Feng's small actions, she happened to notice her. No, I didn't do anything. Xu Feng thought to himself, you brainless woman. You must be talking bad about me. HMPH, I'll settle the score with you later. Song Yazi was about to answer Li Shimin's question again as he spoke. But she seemed to think of something suddenly. She smiled badly, and said to Li Shimin, "Second brother Li, we are talking about these confidential things now, but why is there an outsider here? This is not very good." Li Shimin naturally knew this a long time ago. He didn't trust Xu Feng, but because of his sister's face, it was impossible for him to let Xu Feng go out directly. At this moment Song Yazi mentioned that he happened to have an excuse and was about to ask Xu Feng to go out. Unexpectedly, Xu Feng spoke first. "King Qin, I was standing aside just now, and I didn't intend to eavesdrop on your brother and sister's conversation, but it seems that you are short of horses? Coincidentally, I also have news about a horse farm." After Xu Feng finished speaking, he took a hard look at Song Yazi. "I don't know if this little girl is really ignorant, or is it a prank, trying to spoil my good deed?" When Li Shimin heard this, he naturally couldn't open his mouth to drive people away. He heard that Xu Feng also had a ranch, so he smiled at Li Xiner. "Xiner, you are really my lucky star. I was not fooled by this horse at all. I don't have a clue. I was thinking about trying to discuss it with you, but I didn't expect that there are actually two nobles here who have the news of the racecourse. It's really great." Li Xiner also smiled slightly after being praised, glanced at Xu Feng, then at Song Yazi, but the smile on her face was not really happy, because she seemed to have discovered something in the interaction between the two. "You also have information about the racecourse. Don't talk too much. You won't come when the time comes. Let's see how you end up." Song Yazi said fiercely to Xu Feng. "You are allowed to have it, I am not allowed to have it, and maybe the racecourse we are talking about is the same one." Xu Feng was not used to bickering with women, but this Song Yazi was really unbearable. "Stop hating her. Okay, tell me first if you have the ability." Song Yazi was very angry, and she was also very depressed. "This Xu Feng, why do you keep fighting against yourself?" Li Shimin saw that the two were about to quarrel, so he naturally preferred Song Yazi, and also felt that Xu Feng would not have any news about the racecourse. "After all, I have sent people to inquire about it for so long, but there is no news about it. How did Xu Feng, a grassroots man, know it? If this kid is talking big and bragging, this will just puncture him." So he said, "Brother Xu, don't get acquainted with this girl Yazi. Tell me the information you know about the racecourse. If the information is true, our Li family will definitely reward you well." Xu Feng waved his hand. "I do know this information, but I am not providing this information to you for the purpose of exchanging benefits, but purely to thank the princess for taking care of me this month." Chapter 239 Looking for a Racecourse. Xu Feng stopped talking, and said directly, "I do know a ranch, it's called Pegasus Ranch." Song Yazi's eyes widened when he heard this, and he said in surprise, "How could it be? Did you also overhear my brother and dad's conversation?" After the words had been spoken, she felt that this was absolutely impossible, but it was too coincidental. Li Shimin laughed. "It seems that Yazi and brother Xu are talking about the same ranch, so I'm really curious. It seems that this Pegasus Ranch must be extraordinary." Xu Feng said, "I didn't expect that the two of us were going to talk about the same thing, so you can talk to them about the pasture in person." It's not that Xu Feng didn't want to talk about it on purpose, but he found that although he knew about the existence of this Pegasus Ranch, he didn't understand the specific things and details about this ranch at all. "There were too many mistakes, so I simply sold my favor to this silly girl and let her continue talking." Song Yazi didn't think too much about it either, She recovered from her surprise. She became more and more curious about Xu Feng's identity. She was absolutely sure that Xu Feng was definitely not an ordinary person. But it's a pity that I haven't been able to find out what happened, and I haven't caught him in this month. She put all these aside temporarily, and said to Li Shimin, "Second brother Li, what I want to talk about is indeed this Pegasus Ranch. According to my father, it is quite large in scale, and it should have thousands of good horses. Yes, and the owner of this horse farm is very low-key. He has long expected that the world will be in chaos, so he has been secretly raising horses since more than 10 years ago, and is ready to sell for a price. Oh, in that case, it's no wonder I've never heard of this racecourse, but the owner of this racecourse is really a character who can see the general trend of the world. I don't know, Sister Yuzi, where's this racecourse located?" Li Shimin was already sure in his heart that this racecourse really existed, but what he was most worried about now was how to find it. After all, Song Yuzi only eavesdropped on some of them, so it was all for naught in the end. I really want to hear that they probably mentioned it. I really think it's on the south side of the Kindling Mountains. They say it's between the two tributaries of the Yangtze River. I don't hear the details clearly. Song Yuzi said that her voice became smaller and smaller, and she herself was quite embarrassed. She thought she could help Brother Li, but if she was not sure about the location, she immediately saw Xu Feng beside him. Immediately pulled Xu Feng forward and said, "By the way, don't you know its information? Do you know where it is?" Xu Feng never expected that this little girl kicked the ball to him again. Where is Pegasus Ranch? He really didn't know. Who would remember such irrelevant information? But right now, he was bragging just how, if he wants to gain Li Shimin's trust, he must know the location of this Pegasus Ranch. Well, of course I know, but some people still rely on me in the end. As he said these mocking words to Song Yuzi, his brain was quickly deferred. Since his strength became stronger, his brain has become better than before, as if he had been upgraded. According to the information provided by Song Yuzi, south of the Kindling Mountains, the tributaries of the Yangtze River, and his vague image of the original work, this place must be in the south, and it is a plain sandwiched between the Yangtze River and its tributaries. From Sichuan in the upper reaches of the Yangtze River, Xu Feng checked all the qualified ones in his head, and soon Xu Feng determined the target. This pasture is likely to be in Hubei, and the largest tributary of the Yangtze River in Hubei is naturally the Han River, and it is a plain between the tributaries. Then it is very likely that it is the Jianghan Plain, and the Jianghan Plain is Jingzhou. The most likely place is Jingzhou. No matter what, just take a gamble. Even if you make a mistake, who can do anything to yourself? Do you know? I don't think you know, so just fool around here. Song Yuzi, a kitten, would fight back if she was teased. No matter what, this girl will never lose her mouth. The Pegasus Ranch is located in Jingzhou. Xu Feng didn't compare much, and announced the answer directly. In this way, Song Yuzi was completely speechless, although she still doubted whether Xu Feng made up this place. Okay, Jingzhou is not far from Chang'an, so let's go to Jingzhou tomorrow. This time I will go in person. Li Zioning was on the side, and said at this time, "Second brother, let me handle this matter for you. You just came back from the front line. There must be many things waiting to be dealt with in the court." Li Shimin thought for a while, looked at Li Zioning with relief and said, "Okay, Zioning, I really don't know how to thank you. Okay, second brother, should we still be polite? Okay, then I'll send some people to go with you. It might be dangerous to go on this trip." Li Zioning did not refuse. She said, "I want to take Mr. Su with me." Li Shimin didn't object this time. Okay, since this Pegasus Ranch is the clue provided by Mr. Su, it's natural to follow. I'm going to, and I also provided clues. Song Yuzi heard it from the side and shouted quickly. Li Shimin looked at her and smiled. "Yuzi, it might be dangerous to go on this trip. Do you really want to follow? If something happens, I can't explain it to Uncle Song. It's okay, I'm not a child anymore, I can take care of myself. Besides, what's the danger if I follow Sister Zioning?" As Song Yuzi said, he stepped forward and hugged Li Zioning's arm, and began to act like a baby. Li Zioning looked at her and didn't say anything, so the matter was settled. And Xu Feng had no objection. Although Li Shimin didn't want to go, since the purchase of horses was related to the cavalry strength of the Li family's army, he definitely wanted to go. Maybe he could find a way to disintegrate the Li family without bloodshed. The next day, the group left Chang'an and headed for Jingzhou. Li Ziyuning dressed lightly and did not bring many attendants. In addition to the two masters beside her, she also brought more than a dozen people in the army assigned to her by Li Shimin, plus Song Yazi and Xu Feng, a team of less than 20 people. From Chang'an to Jingzhou, the distance is about 600 kilometers, passing through the Qinling Mountains. Xu Feng and his party rode horses and could travel hundreds of companies a day. After 7 days, they arrived at the boundary of Jingzhou. Jingzhou has been the site of the 4 world wars since ancient times, and this place is an endless plain. The Yangtze River is gurgling, irrigating the fertile fields on both sides of the bank, creating an idyllic scenery. When they came to the ancient city of Jingzhou, the group stayed. But it took a lot of effort to find the Pegasus Ranch. After all, Xu Feng only made a rough inference in his head. But seeing this scene in Jingzhou along the way, he was already 90.00% sure that this Pegasus Ranch must be in Jingzhou, so it shouldn't be difficult to find out. Chapter 240 Pegasus Ranch. Jingzhou has been the core area of the Chu state since the Warring States period. After more than 1,000 years of development, the people in this place were very wealthy and peaceful. In the ancient city of Jingzhou, the city walls were also very tall and majestic, as solid as gold. The business in the city is very prosperous, and the streets are also full of troubles. Xu Feng and his party chose the most luxurious inn in the city. Originally, Xu Feng didn't want to be so eye-catching and imposing, but Li Ziyuning was a princess after all, and she still had the habit of pampering her. It's down, and it's the best rooms in the inn. After resting, everyone came to Xu Feng's room together. This room is a large suite, the outside is a living room, and the inside is the bedroom for sleeping. Li Ziyuning brought Song Yazi to Xu Feng's room, but the two girls were not at all restrained. "Hey, how do we find that ranch now?" Song Yazi asked as soon as he sat down. Xu Feng didn't answer, but first poured her and Li Ziyuning a cup of tea. Then he sat down and said, "From the information I got back then, I only knew that the Pegasus Ranch is in Jingzhou, and I don't know the details, but the whole Jingzhou is so big. Are you afraid you can't find it?" HMPH, it's easy for you to say, Jingzhou is still young. You have to know that there are only a dozen of us. If you want to find it, it's not much easier than finding a needle in a haystack. Yazi, don't be stubborn with Mr. Su, I think what he said makes sense. Li Ziyuning couldn't help but said, "Think about it, the Pegasus Ranch has so many horses and occupies an area of it must be very big, maybe it is well known in Jingzhou. Tomorrow we will split up and inquire about it, and we should find it." Since Li Ziyuning said this, Song Yazi naturally couldn't refute anything. Xu Feng continued, "That's true, the princess sees it clearly." The next day, according to the agreed plan, they split up to inquire about the Pegasus Ranch. Xu Feng originally didn't want the two girls, Li Ziyuning and Song Yazi, to go out, so he and his attendants went out to ask. But unexpectedly, these two masters who refused to listen to the arrangement and refused to admit defeat, expressed that they would go out to find clues by themselves. But Xu Feng knew that in this troubled world, these two girls could easily be in danger outside. "I had no choice but to take them together, and the three of them went together to find clues." Unexpectedly, things were not as difficult as imagined. They were the first to find a horse dealer in the city, and sure enough, the dealer knew where the Pegasus Ranch was. Everything went much smoother than expected. "TCH, I found it so easily, and let Miss Ben go for nothing." Who else could be speaking besides Song Yazi? Xu Feng originally wanted to go back, but then he thought about it. This little girl might really be a little out of her mind, so it's better not to bully the weak. Now that he successfully found out where the Pegasus Ranch is, just in case, Xu Feng paid the horse dealer to lead the way himself. This horse dealer happened to be going to the Pegasus Ranch, and he was very happy to make some money for free. Xu Feng didn't want to waste any more time, so he immediately went back to the inn to get his things and started on the road. Li Ziyuning didn't say anything. She was used to everything being arranged by Xu Feng along the way, and she was very relieved to let Xu Feng do these things. As she herself watched Xu Feng busy, she was thinking about other things in her mind. The horse dealer led Xu Feng and his group out of Jingzhou City, heading northwest of the city. This journey is really not short. According to the horse dealer, this Pegasus Ranch is very mysterious. Xu Feng and the others are looking for the right person. If you ask ordinary people, they may really not know about it. It is located in the northwest of Jingzhou City, closer to the edge of the westernmost virgin forest. Starting from Jingzhou City, it takes 2 days' journey to get there. I followed a horse dealer all the way west, and finally at noon on the third day, I saw a large green area in front of me. This green really stands out. Because of walking all the way, most of the Jianghan plain is planted with rice. It is the season when the rice is about to mature, so all you see along the way are golden yellow. But it was green, a lot of green. At the foot of the mountain, this place can be said to be very well chosen. There is a river passing through it in front, a natural barrier. To enter the racecourse, you have to cross a suspension bridge over the river. There are guards over the bridge. A group of people came to the river. The river is about 10 meters wide, but its water cannot see the bottom and is very deep. It is obviously artificially deepened. The horse dealer shouted to the opposite side, and a person came out from a small room by the opposite bridge pier. The horse dealer and him exchanged something in Jingzhou dialect. The people over there seem to be confirming some things repeatedly, but they still haven't put the bridge down in the end. Xu Feng asked, "What did he say? Did he not let us pass?" "Horse dealer, I told him that you are here to buy horses, and he said he couldn't decide whether to let you go there, and he would go back and ask the owner for instructions." Sure enough, the man over there left the house, got on a horse, and headed towards the depths of the grassland. Looking from this side of the river to the opposite side is really shocking. With this river as the boundary, there are green grasslands on the opposite side, and those grasses are obviously specially planted and cultivated. Some people's knees are high and they grow very lush. The grass stretches like an ocean. In the distance, Bukit Mertajam is small, and a group of buildings can be seen vaguely. Looking at the spectacular scene of the racecourse opposite, the group was shocked speechless. Song Yazi said, "The owner of this horse farm is definitely very powerful. Being able to occupy such a good place alone to raise horses is simply a blessing. It seems that we didn't make this trip in vain this time." Li Zioning's eyes were also shining with excitement. She did not disappoint her second brother's expectations. It seemed that there was hope for the future cavalry of the Li family. Xu Feng looked at this pasture, and now he wondered if there were more horses than he imagined in such a large pasture. And is the owner of this racecourse really an ordinary person? Will he really sell the horse to the Li family? You must know that in this chaotic world, the owner of the racecourse owns so many horses that they can be sold for a price. Just like in modern warfare, the owner of this horse farm is like an arms dealer, with thousands of tanks and armored vehicles. He must not worry about selling them. Moreover, this transaction will also affect the trend of the world. Xu Feng had to start to rethink his decision. It seemed that his original intention might have to be changed this time. Originally, I wanted to help the Li family complete this matter, so as to gain their trust, and then plan other things. Looking at it now, this horse must not be bought by the Li family. After all, my mission is to help Kaozhong win the world. And this racecourse is related to the future world. Chapter 241. The two girls on the side, unaware of the change in Xu Feng's mind, have been marveling at the grandeur of the opposite pasture. After about half an hour, someone finally came from the opposite side. The boy watching the bridge seemed to have invited his superior over. There were 5 or 6 people in total, and the leader was a young woman who was riding on a tall horse. She has a beautiful face, and her black and beautiful hair pours like 2 small waterfalls on her fragrant shoulders that are cut like knives. She is extremely beautiful. The dress is elegant and refined, and the elegant attire highlights her outstanding face and bronzed and shiny delicate skin, exuding a scorching youth and a gorgeous healthy atmosphere. Her beautiful eyes are deep and unfathomable, and her thick eyelashes add to her mystery. The horse under her crotch is wonderful. Although Xu Feng doesn't understand horses, when he sees this horse, he feels it's extraordinary. How should I put it? It is a kind of intuition. It seems to be like the king of horses, with a kind of nobility all over it. All horses are like this, so the owner is naturally extraordinary. Xu Feng knew that the other party might be the one in charge. The person watching the bridge respectfully stood aside, and said to the person on the horse, "The owner of the bridge, that is the group of people on the opposite side who want to come to a racecourse." She said, "Ask where they come from, which side they belong to." The boy obeyed, and shouted to Xu Feng and the others, "This is the owner of our Pegasus Ranch. She asked me to ask you, which side do you belong to?" The horse dealer naturally knew that it was not his turn to speak in this matter, so he backed away silently. Li Zioning stepped forward and said, "We are the Li family in Chang'an, and we are here to buy horses." Although it was more than 10 meters away, Li Zioning's voice could still be heard clearly on the other side. She had practiced some martial arts, so she was full of energy. Moreover, he had no intention of concealing his identity at all. Xu Feng nodded his head. This is the correct way. This Pegasus Ranch is obviously not simple. Only with enough sincerity can it be possible. The girl on the horse opposite heard Li Zioning's reply, thought for a while, and said to the bridge watcher, "Let them come over." Without waiting, he turned his horse's head and went back. The suspension bridge was lowered slowly, and Xu Feng and others passed the bridge and came to the boundary of Pegasus Ranch. Song Yazi said, "The people at Pegasus Ranch feel weird. They treat us lukewarm. There is no business like this. What do you know? Do you understand that things are rare?" Xu Feng replied. Song Yazi snorted, but surprisingly didn't refute this time. "But I really didn't expect that the owner of this Pegasus Ranch is actually a little girl about my age." Xu Feng shrugged his shoulders and said, "You know the difference? You are already in charge of such a large ranch at such a young age? How about you? What's wrong with me? Am I unbearable? I'm also very strong." "Okay, Yazi, stop arguing, let's go." Li Zioning rode across the suspension bridge first. A group of people followed a bridge watcher and went deep. After walking straight from the river for about a quarter of an hour, they came to the courtyard group of Pegasus Ranch. The straight line distance was no less than 10 kilometers, and Xu Feng had to admire the grandeur of the racecourse again. The courtyards of the Pegasus Ranch are surrounded by walls, and there are turrets at the four corners, and there are people patrolling them. Xu Feng looked at these and felt a sense in his heart. This is simply a fortress, which cannot be conquered by thousands of people. The entire fortress probably covers an area of several square kilometers, and the walls are more than 1 mile wide. The walls are tall, but the scene inside cannot be seen clearly. This Pegasus Ranch can also be regarded as a leader in the region. Sure enough, it is not easy to build such a big racecourse, or else it would be a crime. In this troubled world, if there is a good thing, you have to have the strength to guard it. Entering the courtyard wall, the buildings inside are also built with style and style. There are really many houses inside. A small street was even formed. Xu Feng roughly estimated that there might be no less than 1,000 people in the Pegasus Ranch. It can already be regarded as a hero. Follow the boy through several large gates and come to hall. The girl who was riding a tall horse by the river just now, known as the owner of the field, has already sat in the leader's seat. Seeing Xu Feng and others coming in, she also stood up and said to Li Zioning, "I don't know what to call this girl." Li Zioning said, "My name is Li Zioning, you can call me Zioning." The woman said, "So it's Miss Li Clan, I'm the owner of Pegasus Ranch, and my name is Shang Xiuxin." After talking, everyone sat down again, and a servant brought tea. After taking a sip, Li Zioning didn't make any mistakes, and said straight to the point, "Mall owner, we are here this time, you must know that we are here to buy horses." Shang Xiuxin did not reply immediately, but slowly stroked the tea leaves with the lid of the cup, and was seriously tasting the tea. Xu Feng looked at her and felt that she was really very beautiful. How can I put it? Among the women he has met in Datong so far, she is comparable to Wanwen. And despite the young age of this beauty owner, she has a calm and decisive temperament that is not commensurate with her age, a bit like a modern female president, with a special charm. Xu Feng nodded secretly. This beauty farm owner is not simple, he can manage more than 1,000 Pegasus ranches at such a young age. After she was finally satisfied with a sip of tea, she lightly parted her cherry lips and said, "Everyone has come from a long distance, the journey is exhausting, please rest at the villa first, and we can talk about other matters later." After finishing speaking, he put down the teacup, stood up and went to the back hall. Song Yazi stood up and yelled a few times, but the beauty owner didn't respond at all. Only Xu Feng and others were left in the living room. Song Yazi couldn't help but said, "Who is this person, who has such a temper? He's going to hang us out as soon as he comes." Li Zioning also had a solemn expression on her face. She also knew that it seemed that this mission would not be so easy. Xu Feng didn't say anything, but he was a little happy in his heart, so his chance came. After a while, a servant came up and took the three of them down to rest. The Pegasus Ranch is well organized, and everything is well regulated. Even the servants are taciturn, but they serve very well, which shows the master's usual skills of governing people. It was getting dark soon, and the hostess of the beauties didn't entertain them for dinner, but asked the servants to deliver the food to their room, and the food was exquisitely prepared. After dinner, Li Zioning discussed this matter with Xu Feng again. If it was before, Xu Feng would naturally think of a way seriously, knowing everything. It's just that he has changed his mind at this moment. The purpose this time is no longer to help the Li family get the support of the Pegasus Ranch, but the exact opposite. He also felt a little guilty towards Li Xiner. He just said he had no idea and prevaricated without saying anything. Seeing him, Li Xiner had no idea, and felt a little depressed. He murmured, "This owner, I don't know what he's thinking, but no matter what, I will definitely complete the task assigned by my second brother." Chapter 242. Xu Feng didn't say anything, and exited Li Xiner's room. He was going to look for Shang Xuexin alone at night. Some things had to be done in advance. Although he still couldn't figure out the way of the owner, there was no guarantee that she wouldn't suddenly change her mind and agree to sell the horse to the Li family tomorrow. It will take more effort to stop it at that time. The entire Pegasus Ranch's fort occupies a large area. To find Shang Xuexin's residence, he would have to ask a servant for directions. But Xu Feng can have a simpler method. He unfolded his divine sense, and instantly everything within a few kilometers was presented to his eyes. Of course, he can't be very relaxed in this state, and he can't last long in a state of full strength, but it is still enough for him to find someone. Immediately, in a room deep in the castle, he found Shang Xuexin's figure. Coincidentally, this beauty owner is actually taking a bath. Behind layers of curtains, there was a large wooden barrel. At the moment, the barrel was steaming with heat. A woman was leaning against a barrel wall with her eyes closed, as if she was asleep. Her facial features are really perfect, just like the beautiful Yangtze overlooking the world from high cliffs, so beautiful and splendid that it doesn't look like it should be in the world. Xu Feng didn't look any further, but withdrew his divine thoughts. After finding out where Shang Xuexin was, he left the room and went straight. Shang Xuexin himself lives in an independent courtyard, in which there are many exotic flowers and trees, and there is also a tall osmanthus tree of unknown age. Xu Feng jumped into the tree and sensed it a little. The people inside hadn't finished bathing yet, so he couldn't just go in and disturb them. Unexpectedly, after waiting for more than an hour, Shang Xuexin inside fell asleep leaning against a tub. Xu Feng also squatted alone on the tree at night for more than an hour, and there was distress in his mouth. "I can fall asleep here. After such a long time, the temperature of the water will become colder. Isn't this not a cold?" Xu Feng couldn't squat anymore, and was also worried that the girl would catch a cold, so he took off a leaf and hid it on the window as a hidden weapon. Sure enough, the people inside woke up instantly, and jumped up from the water. It took less than a second to put on their clothes. Good skill. Xu Feng admired secretly, but he didn't expect that the owner of the beauty field was a practitioner. Judging from the skills she showed just now, Xu Feng judged that she was at least a top-notch master. After getting dressed, Shang Xuexin came to the window, opened it and said, "Friends outside, since you're here, let's come out and see you." When Xu Feng threw out the leaves, he knew that he would be exposed, so he jumped down from the tree without hesitation, and simply went into Shang Xuexin's room through the open window without being elegant. Shang Xuexin was taken aback. She thought that this person was going to harm her, but from her point of view, the judgment she made was that a person was rushing towards her. So he shot directly, flicked his sleeves, entered into the bathtub, and then pulled and twisted again. The wet sleeves were twisted into a stick, piercing towards Xu Feng. Xu Feng knew that he was indeed abrupt, and quickly said, "Well, owner, I have no malicious intentions." But at the same time, he stretched out his hand and took her blow lightly, and at the same time he fell to the ground. He stood not more than a foot away from Shang Xuexin, looking at this beautiful person opposite. Her face was still red, the kind of blush just after taking a bath. Her hair was also wet, with a few strands scattered on her cheeks, and she looked really feminine. Shang Xuexin was also very surprised. She didn't expect the person in front of her to take her blow so easily. But after all, she is the owner who can control the Pegasus Ranch alone. She didn't reveal her inner thoughts on her face. "Is it also the style of your Li family? Business owner, don't get me wrong. I came to you to discuss something important. Let's talk slowly," Xu Feng said as he let go of her sleeves, then turned around and closed the window gently. Shang Xuexin was worthy of being a female president. She didn't say much. She calmly retracted her sleeves. "Then please wait a moment, sir. I'll go change my clothes." As he spoke, he went back to the inner room, which was also a large suite. Xu Feng sat down on the table, and after a while, Shang Xiuxin changed into clothes and came back. She easily tied her wet hair into a bun, and wore a loose robe. Her whole demeanor changed again, with a little more laziness. Xu Feng couldn't help boasting, the owner of the mall is really a natural beauty, even Shi is nothing more than that. Su is really lucky today. Shang Xiuxin blushed unexpectedly. She was very angry at first, but because she knew that the martial arts of the visitor was not inferior to hers, she didn't show any sullenness. Hearing Xu Feng praise her at this moment, she somehow had a strange feeling in her heart. She had never heard anyone praise her for her beauty since she was born. Because of her lofty status, coupled with her stern voice, no one at Pegasus Ranch has ever dared to praise her beauty to her face. Your surname is Su? Dare to ask your name. After she sat down, she pressed her emotions and asked calmly. Under Xu Feng. You came to me alone. Is it Li Zhoning's idea? I didn't say that. I will discuss the matter of buying a horse tomorrow. If you are so unruly, I really hate doing business with unruly people. Shang Xiu soon has completely calmed down, and she is rediscovering her role. Owner, you misunderstood me. I am not here on behalf of the Li family. In fact, my intention is quite the opposite. I want to talk to you, the owner. Can you not sell the horse to the Li family instead? Sell it to me. Xu Feng cut to the chase. When Shang Xiuxin heard this, a look of surprise flashed across her calm face. She looked at Xu Feng again, and said, Mr. Su, stop joking. Do you think I will believe you based on your one-sided words? Xu Feng smiled and said, I know your scruples, the host. You are afraid that I was deliberately sent by the Li family to test you. As for this, I really can't prove it myself, but the fact is so. Shang Xiuxin stared at Xu Feng with searching eyes, and she found that she couldn't see through him. This man was mysterious, very mysterious, and his whole body seemed to be covered in a layer of fog. Since you can't prove yourself, it's useless to talk too much, please do it yourself. Shang Xiuxin didn't intend to talk too much. Xu Feng rubbed his nose, thought for a while and said, You Pegasus Ranch, I heard that it was founded by a military general in the late Jin dynasty to avoid the world. After several generations of painstaking efforts, it took 160 years to operate and spread to the shopping malls. In your hands, it is a pity that there is no male heir, and it can only be inherited by you. I wonder if you, the owner of the mall, have considered the future of Pegasus Ranch. Chapter 243. Shang Xiuxin's eyes changed, revealing a cold light. Her bright eyes stared at Xu Feng firmly at this moment. Have you investigated me? She was really shocked in her heart. She thought that not many people in this world knew about this information. Even in this Pegasus Ranch, there were no more than 10 people who could know the origin of the merchant. How did this person know? She believes that those who know these things will never betray themselves. Owner, since I'm here to cooperate with you, I naturally want to get to know you in advance. Don't be nervous. I haven't told anyone about these things. Xu Feng said, I think you also know that in this troubled world, if you want your Pegasus Ranch to survive safely, or to develop and grow, the best thing is to find a good tree to live in. You Pegasus Ranch have avoided the world for so many years, and you have waited for so many years. This troubled world can be said to be your perfect opportunity. As long as you place the right chips, you don't have to worry about your future. Although Shang Xiuxin was still surprised, she gradually calmed down. She listened to Xu Feng's eloquent talk, and regained her aloofness and said, Then what advice do you have, my lord? Xu Feng turned his head, looked at her, looked straight into her eyes, and said with a smile, Business owner, I think you can see the general trend of the world more clearly than I do, but if you want me to analyze it, I can also make a fool of myself. Okay, I'd like to listen to the young master's truth. Shang Xiuxin said, sat down, and cut a cup of tea for Xu Feng and herself. She was completely calm at the moment. In today's world, Yang Guang is dead. Everyone wants to be the new lord of the world, but there are not many people who are capable of competing. Naturally, the Li family in Chang'an is one, and then Luo Yongwang Shichen, Hebei Dao Jian, Liu was Hao, and Shandong Wagang's He, together with the Yuwen family in the south and the Xiandao Song family, but in general, these heroes in the north are the most likely to compete for the world. In fact, Xu Feng didn't know Tang history very well, but since it was this point, even if he wasn't familiar with it, he couldn't show his timidity, so he probably talked about it from memory. After Shang Xiuxin finished listening, she didn't show anything, her face was still the same as usual. After she regained her composure, she really hid all her thoughts deep in her heart, as if wearing a mask on her face, no longer leaking out. The slightest emotion fluctuates. What you said just pointed out the distribution of power in the world, and then? Xu Feng asked. Then, who among them can become the future master of the world? Xu Feng smiled. It's actually a bit like gambling, and it's not right. In our place, it's called venture capital. If you invest in the right people, then the future will naturally be prosperous and rich. I want to be the owner of them all, and I want to find the chosen lord among them. I can say that you can exclude the Li family from among them. Why? Xu Feng asked in surprise. In fact, she still suspected that Xu Feng was sent by the Li family to test her, but she didn't expect that the Li family was the one that Xu Feng said the most. There is no reason. If there is no me, the business owner, I can say that you should invest in the Li family. But because of me, no matter whether it is the Li family or others, they are all impossible. When Xu Feng said this, some of his aura was revealed unconsciously, and Xu Feng suddenly felt that the person standing in front of her had a light, a sacred light, and she couldn't help but kneel down. Fortunately, Xu Feng restrained his momentum in time. Xu Feng's heart beat faster, and she couldn't help stroking her chest. It took a while to calm down. She stared at Xu Feng and said, "You mean, I should invest in you?" "Yes, business owner, you should invest in me." Xu Feng deliberately joked, "Because I am the chosen one." Unexpectedly, Xu Feng took a meaningful look at Xu Feng, and said, "I'll think about it. All right, my lord, let's stop here tonight. Please go ahead." Now that all the beauties have chased away the guests, Xu Feng is not a rogue. He knows that things can only go on like this for now, and he doesn't expect Xu Feng to change his mind with just one conversation, so take your time. Then, "Goodbye, beauty host," Xu Feng said, turned around and flew out of the window. He now understands why martial arts masters don't like to go through the main entrance, because it's really cool to go through the side door and fly through the window, and it's more convenient than going through the main entrance. Xu Feng watched Xu Feng's back disappear. She got up and closed the window, turned around and sat down slowly. Her eyes were empty. She didn't know what she was thinking. Here Xu Feng too has returned to his room between ups and downs. Of course, the way he enters his room is through the window, which is convenient and quick. The room was dark, candles were lit, and he was about to go to bed. Unexpectedly, when he turned around, he saw a person sitting there. He was really shocked. Ordinarily, with Xu Feng's strength, he would definitely find out that there was someone in the room, but firstly, he didn't expect it at all, and secondly, he was in a happier mood when he came back, and he was thinking about other things in his mind, so he didn't investigate at all. Only then did a surprise come. This fright, Xu Feng's physical instinct, automatically released the power of defense. The person sitting was none other than Song Yazi. She was planning to ask the teacher for a crime, but she didn't expect Xu Feng's automatically activated power to blow her away. Fortunately, Xu Feng retracted it in time, and then flew forward to catch her before she landed. Lying in Xu Feng's arms, Song Yazi was half dead with anger. "Okay, why did you sneak around in the middle of the night, and if I found out, you wanted to kill me, right? What are you talking nonsense about? What's the matter with you running into my room in the middle of the night?" Xu Feng smiled wryly. "HMPH, I saw you have problems during the day, and wanted to come to you to test you, but I didn't expect you to be away, so I waited for you to come back in your room, so I caught you now." Song Yazi lay in Xu Feng's arms. He raised his small face with a look of arrogance and complacency. "What, by the way, Grandma, don't you want to get up? Do you feel particularly comfortable lying in my arms?" Xu Feng changed the subject and teased. "Ah." Song Yazi quickly jumped out of Xu Feng's arms, but her face was already red to her ears. Although she was ashamed and angry, she still did not forget to hate Xu Feng, who is greedy. "I just forgot." Xu Feng stared at her with great interest, stared straight at her, and said, "Then Miss Song, why do you keep getting along with me?" Song Yazi became more energetic now, raised his head and said, "I can't get along with you? It's obvious that you have been against me all the time. You're better now, and you're going to beat me up, right? Humph, but now I'm not afraid of you anymore. You have a clue I have it, hee. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Windy Night. Handle. Xu Feng sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, took a sip slowly and said, "I'm not talking about you. You little girl is really hard to use her brains sometimes." "What did you say?" Song Yazi was aroused again. "I'm out of my mind? I think you're at the end of your rope, so speak quickly here. Anyway, you have something in my hands, so be careful what you say. Otherwise, if you anger Miss Ben, I will really reveal these things about you. Little girl, don't threaten me anymore. You said you caught my handle, but what about the evidence? Do you think anyone will believe you when you go out and say it? And I really don't understand you. Your so-called handle means what? I just went to the bathroom and got lost." Xu Feng said speechlessly. You. Song Yazi was speechless for a while, thinking that she did not get any evidence of the stone hammer, but her competitive psychology prevailed at the moment, so how could she easily admit defeat? Immediately thinking about it, I immediately thought of a solution. Even if I don't have evidence, it's a fact that you went out in the middle of the night, and do you think Li Xuning will listen to me, or believe you more? And if you force me again, I will shout now, saying that you molested me, and see how you explain it when the time comes." As Song Yazi said, his little hand was really on his collar, ready to plant and frame him at any time. Xu Feng really didn't expect that Song Yazi, this big-breasted and brainless guy, would be so troublesome. No wonder Confucius said, "Only villains and women are hard to raise." This is simply not difficult to raise, it should be changed to "Only villains and women are difficult to mess with." Xu Feng thought that although he and Song Yazi had a lot of quarrels, they always had a game attitude and never took it seriously. This time he was really a little angry. Standing up again from the chair, staring at Song Yazi, he slowly moved towards her step by step. This brought unprecedented pressure to Song Yazi. She just felt as if a mountain was slowly pressing down on her. She couldn't breathe. Under this pressure, she had to step back step by step. She mumbled, "Don't come here, or else," but unfortunately, she was unable to utter a complete sentence because of the pressure behind her. She just retreated mechanically and instinctively, but the room had an end, and she could only be forced to stop on the wall of the room in the end. Xu Feng approached slowly and relentlessly from the beginning to the end, like a ruthless predator, teasing his prey. Song Yazi leaned against the wall, and finally had his support for her body, but the pressure did not ease in the slightest. She could only keep her eyes wide open, watching Xu Feng slowly approaching. She suddenly regretted it. She wondered if she was going to die. She thought of the flowers in the courtyard of the Song mansion, and the mountains and rivers of Lingnan. She was thinking, why should she have trouble with the person in front of her? Why? Could it be that he really hated him? Is it really because he annoyed himself? At the moment of death, she began to torture her heart, and only then did she realize that the answers to those questions were all negative. She didn't hate him. She was even surprised. Her heart told her that she was always against him because she liked him. She felt it was absurd. All of this didn't seem real, but looking at Xu Feng in front of her eyes, she knew that all of this really happened. Her little face slowly turned red, and tears flowed from her eyes, but she seemed to have figured everything out, and she didn't want to leave any regrets when she died. Now that she understood her heart, she seemed to put it, "Tell the person in front of you." Although she is unable to speak at this moment, in addition to language, human beings also have eyes, which can also convey information. Song Yazi gazed at Xu Feng affectionately, with eyes full of tears. Xu Feng looked at Song Yazi, and he was indeed murderous. This woman opposed him again and again, but at least she had no influence on him before. If she really went to Li Xuning to file a complaint now, her plan would be disrupted. For now, he doesn't want to turn against the Li family for the time being. It is more convenient to do some things secretly. But can he really kill the woman in front of him? He looked at her. She was much shorter than him. He was actually looking down on her. She had a small frame, and she was really weak like a lolly. With this lolly face, there is something inexplicable. Her face is that kind, completely non-aggressive, with no bones on her face, a bit like a baby, very young, but there is also a kind of strange beauty, which is very magical. Of course, all of this is when she is quiet. When she gets mad, it is a different feeling. But at this moment, with tears in her eyes, looking at herself affectionately, Xu Feng discovered that this little girl's film is actually like this. It was the first time he had looked at her so seriously. He was only interested in bickering before, but he ignored such a one. He looked at Song Yazi, and slowly, the murderous aura gradually subsided, and instead began to emerge. The woman in front of her, with a small pear-blossoming face, is so cute. Her body opens and closes as she breathes. Xu Feng couldn't help but gradually lean forward. He suddenly thought that he was going to kill this little girl, but he really couldn't bear to destroy the flower with his own hands. What if he took her by himself? In ancient times, if one took possession of a woman's body, one would eventually be able to use it for one's own use. It was you who pushed me to this point, why bother? I don't want to kill you now, but I can't let you go so easily. As Xu Feng said, he didn't hesitate anymore, and went up directly. Very sweet, this feeling, which has not been experienced for a long time, flows from my body and spreads to the whole body. Song Yazi didn't expect that the situation would turn around suddenly. He thought he was going to die, but now he was killed. Could it be that her deep emotion really moved the person in front of her? She just felt like falling into the clouds all over her body. Everything seems unreal. Everything tonight, I am dreaming. Whatever, even if it is a dream, so be it. Song Yazi fell completely. Xu Feng also let go of his restraints and let himself be free from emotion. The wind blew, thunder flashed outside the window, and it started to rain. Chapter 245 Goodbye Sangyuan. It rained all night. Early the next morning, before dawn, Song Yazi had already secretly put on his clothes. Xu Feng was sleeping peacefully at the side, but in fact he was already awake, but he didn't open his eyes to avoid embarrassment for the two of them. He didn't know why he was so rare last night. At that time, he seemed to have a trace of anger. Song Yazi got dressed, carefully lifted the quilt, and glanced at Xu Feng who was sleeping next to him. But just as she was about to leave, she couldn't help crying out in pain and almost fell down. Xu Feng couldn't pretend to be asleep anymore, so he had to wake up. Looking at his back, he recalled last night, and also faintly regretted it. Immediately got up, stretched out his hand to grab Song Yazi. Xu Feng used his ingenuity and couldn't help but said, "Why, are you going to sneak away? Let go of me, I want to go back." Song Yazi struggled in vain, she just felt that she had no strength at all. Xu Feng looked at her, and suddenly thought, this mushroom is really cute. It was my fault last night, let me help you. Xu Feng said. What are you doing? Song Yazi began to dodge desperately again, tears were about to glisten in her eyes. Xu Feng didn't speak, but used his skills to slowly repair the wounds in her body. Song Yazi felt that there was a mass of warm energy, and only then did she know that Xu Feng was really healing her injury. After a few breaths, Xu Feng felt that Song Yazi's body was fine, so he took his hand away and said, "Okay, you can go." Song Yazi was in a hurry to get up. Without moving his head, he left the room. Xu Feng smiled slightly, feeling a little happy in his heart. About half an hour later, the sky began to dawn, and a servant girl came in to help Xu Feng get up and change his clothes. Xu Feng was not very used to this kind of life of being served by others. But people are easy to degenerate. At the beginning, he was able to adhere to the civilized concept of modern society and do it himself, but then he gradually compromised, and he even found that it felt good to be served by others. He sometimes wonders, are there really many bad roots hidden in human nature? After dinner, Li Zioning sent someone to him to discuss countermeasures, and when Xu Feng arrived, he found that Song Yazi was already there. However, when she saw Xu Feng approaching, she quickly avoided him as soon as her eyes made contact with Xu Feng, and never looked at Xu Feng again. Li Zioning asked Xu Feng for his opinion. Xu Feng always played Tai Chi and said some dispensable and correct words. Soon the conversation couldn't go on. Li Zioning didn't know what happened, and she was a little angry in her heart. Originally, she was very optimistic about Xu Feng and thought he was very talented, so she persuaded her second brother to bring him here. But for some reason, since arriving at the Pegasus Ranch, Xu Feng couldn't come up with any useful countermeasures anymore, and the owner of the Pegasus Ranch didn't know what he was up to, so it was hard for him to see her. She has been competitive since she was a child. Seeing that Xu Feng didn't want to say more, she felt a sense of arrogance in her heart. Without you, I can still complete the task assigned to me by my second brother. So the meeting broke up like this. This afternoon, a new guest suddenly came to Pegasus Ranch, and Xu Feng is still very familiar with this guest. It turned out that the people who came were Kaozhong and Su Xiling, and they also came all the way to buy horses. In the afternoon, the owner of Pegasus Ranch received the two of them as usual, and then arranged for them to stay. At night, Xu Feng found an opportunity and came to the room of the two of them. When Kaozhong and Su Xiling saw Xu Feng, they immediately got up to pay their respects. "Brother Su, why are you here?" The two of them really didn't expect to see their benefactor in this place. "Well, I knew when you came this afternoon. I came here with the Li family, a few days earlier than you." Kaozhong spoke quickly and asked, "Brother Su, why are you with the Li family? Did you join them?" "It's a long story, but the Li family came here just like you, for the horses of the Pegasus Ranch." Kaozhong shook his hand and said, "Brother Su, you saved the lives of our two brothers, now you want to buy a horse, and I, Kaozhong, will definitely give it to you." Xu Feng didn't expect Kaozhong to say this. He was quite touched by Kaozhong's loyalty, but he didn't tell them directly that he came to help them get the horse. "No need for this. When we parted last time, I asked you two brothers to join Wagon Village. Now you two should represent Wagon to buy horses. How can you say such a joke? Brother Su, you saved the lives of our two brothers, isn't it just a horse? At worst, we'll just go back and be punished," Kaozhong said. Xu Feng stretched out his hand and patted Kaozhong's shoulder, and said with a smile, "No need, I didn't join the Li family either, this time I just came here as a friend of Miss Li's second, don't give up fighting because of me." Kaozhong knew that Xu Feng was serious, so he didn't talk about it again. The three of them recounted their experiences after parting. It turned out that Kaozhong and Su Xiling really went to Wagon after listening to Xu Feng's suggestion that day. The two were young and promising, and both had martial arts skills, so they were reused in Wagon soon. For such an important matter as coming to Pegasus Ranch to buy horses this time, Li Mi also felt relieved to let the two brothers come. Xu Feng did not directly tell the two of his plan. He was going to help the two secretly, and he had his own considerations in this. The three of them recounted the old days until midnight, and Xu Feng quietly returned to his room. A few days later, Shang Xiuxin never showed up. Just when the two groups of people were waiting impatiently, this morning, everyone suddenly received the news that they would gather at the Pegasus Ranch martial arts field. Xu Feng didn't know what his plans were for this beauty, and he had gone to her several times secretly at night in the past few days. It's a pity that this woman is really a genius, and she doesn't disclose any useful information. Suddenly summoned everyone today, could it be that she is going to make a decision? Chapter 246 Horse Racing. Everyone came to the martial arts arena of Pegasus Ranch. This is a person in the middle of the pasture, a very wide field, and a high platform with a pergola was built in the middle, and Shang Xiuxin, the owner of the beauty field, is sitting on it at the moment. Xu Feng came with Li Ziheng and his party, and after meeting him, he took a seat on the left. Shang Xiuxin looked at Xu Feng a few more times, but Xu Feng didn't meet her gaze. He avoided it on purpose to avoid Li Ziheng's suspicion. After a while, Kaozhong and Su Xiling also arrived, and then took their seats on the right. Seeing that everyone has arrived, Shang Xiuxin lightly opened his mouth and said, "Everyone came to my Pegasus Ranch for the horses from my racecourse, but now both of your families want them, but I can't supply them. 2. I have been thinking about this these days." Li Ziheng continued, "Business owner, our Li family is bound to win this time. I hope you will consider it carefully." Although she was a woman, her words carried a bit of murderous air, which was quite threatening. When Kaozhong heard this, he sneered, stared at Li Ziheng with sparkling eyes and said, "Miss Li's words are not right. We Wagon must have this horse." The scene suddenly increased a lot of gunpowder. Li Ziheng looked at Kaozhong seriously, saw that he had a frivolous look on his face, and was thinking about when Wagon would have such a person, and she also knew about Wagon's power, but the person in front of him is completely unfamiliar. It is said that since Wagon will send this person, then his status in Wagon should not be low. How could he not know him? She was about to take the opportunity to test out the details, but Song Yazi next to her couldn't bear it, and said first, "Do you understand the principle of first come, first served? We arrived earlier than you, so of course the owner of the mall should sell it to us." Kaozhong glanced at Song Yazi, and said with a smile in his eyes, "First come, first served? Who made this rule? Why don't we listen to what the owner has to say?" Shang Xiuxin had been quietly listening to the two groups of people arguing, not at all unhappy because they interrupted her, and her face was expressionless. At this moment, Seeing Cao Zhang throwing the topic back to herself again, she smiled slightly and continued, I called you here today because after these days of thinking, I have found a solution. Now that the world is in chaos, I will win the world immediately. Since it is for horse, then today is a horse race. Whoever wins, I will sell the horse to whomever the Pegasus Ranch will sell. Cao Zhang heard that the result was determined by horse racing, but he didn't hesitate, and immediately expressed his opinion. Okay, this method is good, I agree, I don't know how to compare it. Li Xiaoning was a little hesitant, not because she didn't have the confidence to win, but because she couldn't tolerate failure. If she lost, could she really give up on these horses? But what can be done? If you want to rob by force, the manpower you bring this time is simply not enough, and it is too late to transfer people from Chang'an now. It seems that this is the only way at present, but it can only win, never lose. She took a deep breath and said slowly, I agree too. Shuang Xiuxin nodded and said, then let me explain the rules. Today you will send 3 people from each side to fight. You can choose horses from the horses in our racecourse. 2 out of 3 rounds will win. Nobody on either side has a problem with the rules. In the end, on Li Xiaoning's side, she chose Yang Yang, who had the best riding skills among the bodyguards, and she prepared to fight herself. She grew up on a horse since she was a child, and the Li family also has Xianbi blood. His riding skills are still very confident. For the last person, she insisted on Xu Feng's fight. Originally, Xu Feng didn't want to agree, but seeing her pleading eyes, Xu Feng had no choice but to come down. On Cao Zhang's side, besides him and Su Xiling playing the battle, he also chose a servant with the best riding skills, named Cheng Ji. After the people and horses of both parties were determined, Shuang Xiuxin arranged for someone to take them to the racecourse to select horses. In the racecourse, thousands of horses gather together, which is spectacular. Xu Feng is very helpless, he has no research on horses at all, and he has no knowledge of horse racing. He even learned how to ride a horse not long ago in a different world. The only impression I have on horse racing is the story of Tianji's horse racing. He told Li Xiaoning the truth, and Li Xiaoning smiled lightly. It's okay, I can help you choose horses, I believe you will win, right? I can trust you, right? She said that her eyes were fixed on Xu Feng, and Xu Feng touched his chin. He could only smile and said, I will try my best. Win, but this is a game after all, and the game must be fair, and he will not use unscrupulous means to achieve his goal. Sure enough, Li Xiaoning knew horses very well. After a while, she picked out 2 very handsome horses from the thousands of horses. This horse is tall and big, with faint muscles, a streamlined body, and a shiny coat. It is extraordinary at first glance. Xu Feng felt that the horse was very similar to the horse in Su Bihang's painting that he had seen. An hour later, the people on both sides had already selected their horses for the battle. The track is a circle with a total length of about 10 miles. Everything is ready, Shuang Xiuxin said. The order of the battle is up to both of you to decide. After hearing this, Cao Zhang took a step forward and said, I'll be the first one. Saying this, he got on the horse. His horse is also very majestic and mighty. Li Xiaoning thought for a while, looked at Yang Yang and Xu Feng, gritted her teeth, took a step forward, and swiftly stepped onto the horse. I'll meet you. Cao Zhang glanced at Li Xiaoning, and said, I won't let you do it for the sake of being a woman. Stop talking nonsense, just wait and see. Li Xiaoning pulled the rein and drove the horse to the starting line. The referee who owns the Pegasus Ranch sees that both of them are ready, and with a command, both of them shoot out like arrows off the string. The 2 horses are indeed rare and good horses, they run like a gust of wind, and both of them are very good at riding, and they are evenly matched for a while. At the first corner, Li Xiaoning took the opportunity to finally overtake Cao Zhang. Since then, she did not give Cao Zhang another chance, and has always maintained her lead. In the blink of an eye, the last corner came, which was Cao Zhang's last chance. He suddenly flew away from the horse, using his body in the air to catch up with the horse. The horse lost the weight of the man, and the speed increased again. When the horse passed the curve, Cao Zhang fell from the air and just landed on the horse. With his superb lightness, skill and strategy, he finally regained the disadvantage. In the final sprint, the 2 horses rushed to the finish line almost at the same time. But in the end, Cao Zhang led by about half a body, and the red satin at the finish line fluttered on Cao Zhang's horse's head. Li Xiaoning was so angry that she came to the starting point and questioned Shuang Xiuxin. He is obviously cheating. Can it be counted? Cao Zhuang also came back, and said with a smile, why, the rules mentioned by the owner just now do not prohibit people from leaving the horse. Why did I cheat? Ms. Li, you can't afford to lose, right? Shuang Xiuxin nodded and said, the game continues. Chapter 247. Although Li Xuning was very angry, she had no choice but to bow her head under the eaves. Now this was not her home game, and even if she refused to accept it, she had no other choice but to swallow it first. On Cao Zhuang's side, he took the lead again and dispatched Cheng Ji, a guard with good riding skills among them. Xu Feng rubbed his chin and felt that Cao Zhuang was very confident. Normally, according to Tianji's horse racing strategy, the one who moves first will suffer, and the person who moves later can formulate his own strategy according to your choice of candidates. But Cao Zhuang didn't seem to have any consideration in this regard at all, and he always sent out candidates first. Li Xuning has already lost one round. If she loses another round now, the suspense will be lost, so the choice of candidates for this round is very important. Xu Feng also understands this truth, but he will not volunteer. Everything is still under Li Xuning's arrangement. Miss, let me fight, I'll meet them. The guard Yang, who spoke, was also said to be the best rider in Li Xuning's team. Li Xuning glanced at Su Xiling, who was left on Cao Zhuang's side. She took a deep breath, as if she had made some decision. She shook her head slowly, denying Yang's request to play. She walked up to Xu Feng, looked up into Xu Feng's eyes and said, this round, you go. Xu Feng looked back at her generously, didn't say anything, just nodded, okay. Then turned around and stepped on the mount. He saw hope and expectation in Li Xuning's eyes. Can he live up to this beauty's expectations? Xu Feng knew that he couldn't guarantee it. He wanted Cao Zhuang to win, but in this round, he wouldn't let it go. He did everything he could, and the final result was up to God to decide. Following an order, Xu Fenggayu rushed out like an arrow. Although he learned how to ride a horse very late, after several actual combat exercises in different worlds, his current riding skills are actually quite extraordinary. In addition, his physical fitness is probably better than all the people in this world. And the horse he chose was also very strong, so at the beginning, he did not fall behind, and he was neck and neck with Cheng Ji. But this situation did not last long, because the real test of technology was on the curve. At the first corner, that Cheng Ji took the opportunity to overtake Xu Feng. Xu Feng thought to himself, this horse racing and racing car really have something in common. The reason why cornering tests skills is that you have to prepare to grasp the balance of speed. If the speed is too fast, you will definitely not be able to turn well, and if you reduce the speed too low for turning, it will also lead to missing the advantage. The important thing is to grasp this turn just enough to be fast, but also to be able to maintain a speed that is not slow. This is generally a technique that can only be mastered by very experienced riders. Although Xu Feng's technique is good, it is obvious that he has not mastered this cornering technique. Soon he reached the straight road again, and Xu Feng tried his best to catch up. He was also a little anxious, or he was also aroused a little, and he was never a person who gave up easily. In fact, this is a trait hidden deep in his personality. Whether it was the bloody fight with his first love, or his study in his student days, he was never willing to bow down to others. He also always believes that he is not weaker than anyone. Now this match just inspired the unyielding side of Xu Feng's character. His mind was spinning rapidly, thinking about how to surpass Cheng Ji in front. What determines the speed is nothing more than power and resistance, and the power can no longer be changed. How fast a horse can run cannot be changed in a short time, unless you give it some energy excitement, but this is cheating, and Xu Feng disdains it. For so long, we can only work hard on reducing resistance. When a horse is running, resistance mainly comes from several aspects: wind resistance, friction on the ground, and of course gravity. In terms of wind resistance, Xu Feng could only stick his body to the horse's back as much as possible to reduce resistance. Gravity is also a very important aspect of influence. A horse is carrying a person, which of course affects its speed. Xu Feng already had an idea in his mind. If he exercises his kung fu to make his body slightly float on the horse's back, he can save the horse the weight of a person. And how does it seem like a human being can defy the laws of physics and levitate out of nowhere? Of course Xu Feng also has such doubts, but he has long been used to it. After all, this is a world where everything is possible. He can cultivate immortality and travel through time and space. The superficial physics studied by humans on Earth is really, can you explain everything in this world? Many times, Xu Feng has been able to do things that violate the laws of physics. At first he would rack his brains to think about it, but then he gave up. Existence is reasonable, and it is enough for him to do it. Unlike any mechanical system. Just as Xu Feng was thinking about it, he reached the third corner in a blink of an eye. Xu Feng did not hesitate, and implemented it according to his own ideas. Sure enough, he could feel that the horse was much lighter without his own weight. When cornering, I slowly regained a little disadvantage, and when I got to the straight road, because there was no burden of load, the speed increased even more. The gap with Chengji in front narrowed little by little, and finally at the last corner, he easily completed the lead. There was no suspense in the result. Xu Feng won by a huge advantage. But because he did it very covertly, on the court, no one found out how he won. Shuang Xiuxin looked at him with a lot of inexplicable meanings, and she found that she really couldn't see through this person at all. But Cao Zhang didn't seem to care about winning or losing at all. He congratulated Xu Feng happily. He really felt in his heart that if Xu Feng needed these horses, he would give them up completely. As for Li Zining, her face was full of joy. She was actually betting. She was really not sure whether Xu Feng would win, but for some reason, a voice deep in her heart told her that this man can be trusted. In the end, he really did it, so how could she be unhappy? And there was another person who was very happy, and that was Song Yazia, who was watching Xu Feng secretly from the sidelines. Since the storm that night, she had actually been consciously avoiding Xu Feng. In the past few days, he has also intentionally reduced the number of times he hates Xu Feng, and he even seldom speaks. But it's not because she hates him, but because she knows that she has fallen, and she doesn't know how to face all of this, so all she can think of for the time being is to escape. But at this moment, her sweetheart showed her style in front of everyone, and she couldn't help showing a happy smile on her face. Xu Feng himself was very calm, but everyone's reactions were in his eyes, and he knew it well. The field is now a 1-to-1 draw, and the key lies in this final battle. Chapter 248. In the final competition, Yang Yang, the best rider on Li Zining's side, and Su Xiling on Wagon's side. The two got on their horses, and started the race without any extra nonsense. Su Xiling, like Cao Zhang, both practiced a martial arts in the formula of longevity, and the martial arts of the two were also on par. At this moment, when he competed with this Yang Yang, he did not lose the wind. Moreover, he watched two battles from the sidelines, and he seems to have discovered the tricks of Xu Feng and Cao Zhang, and he is ready to follow suit. But he can't completely leave the horse like Xu Feng, so he can only use ingenuity to lighten the burden on the horse as much as possible. At the beginning, he also lagged behind Yang Yang on the curve. However, as the time went by, his reduced weight allowed his horse to preserve more energy. In the final sprint stage, Su Xiling defeated that Yang Yang with a slight advantage. The moment the result came out, Li Zining's face instantly became ugly, because it meant that she had already lost in this game, and not only lost this game, but also lost all the horses in Pegasus Ranch ownership of. For a moment, she couldn't accept such a result. Shuang Xiuxin's gaze was always calm, and sometimes Xu Feng wondered if she was really not showing emotions, or was she just pretending to be calm. Is this result what she wants? The calmness on Shuang Xiuxin's face at this moment is really a mask she has cultivated over the years. In fact, her heart is not as calm as the surface. Since she has chosen to decide the final result in this way, no matter what kind of result it is, she had expected the situation. It's just that when the result came out, she was still a little worried. She felt that the Peach Blossom Paradise life in Pegasus Ranch might be coming to an end. Once involved in the vortex of this world, how can you get out? She glanced at Cao Zhang, and finally announced, "Congratulations, young Master Cao, you have won, and the current batch of horses in our Pegasus Ranch will be sold to you. We can discuss the details later." Cao Zhang cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Then I would like to thank the owner of the beauty. I hope we can cooperate happily in the future." On the other side, Shuang Xiuxin then said to Li Zining, "Miss Li, the result has been reached now. If you still want to stay in Pegasus Ranch, we will still do our best as landlords." Li Zining couldn't hear the meaning of chasing customers in her words. She said indifferently, "Since there is something here, we won't bother the owner of the mall. Let's go back and pack our things, and we will leave as soon as possible." Sure enough, that afternoon, Li Zining left Pegasus Ranch without hesitation. Li Ziyuning obviously felt that he had messed up this matter, and was in a bad mood along the way, so he didn't talk much. Song Yazi has been quietly accompanying her by her side, but unfortunately it doesn't help much. Naturally, Xu Feng was still with them, but what he actually thought about was how to say goodbye to Li Ziyuning. Although he traveled all the way to Chang'an back then, the main thing was to get close to Li's family, especially Li Yuan and Li Shimin. That's why he got in touch with Li Ziyuning first. But now he no longer wants to stick to this approach. Although he has never seen Li Yuan, he has seen Li Shimin. Although this person is very young, he has already begun to show his edge. Moreover, Xu Feng had already figured it out clearly. To help Cao Zhong win the world, he doesn't have to start with Li'er. Cao Zhong also has a chance in a decisive battle, especially with his own help. Just now at the Pegasus Ranch, before leaving, he secretly found an opportunity to have a brief talk with Cao Zhong. Cao Zhong is a smart person, talking to him saves effort. I have already told Cao Zhong what I mean, but Cao Zhong actually has some vague thoughts in his heart. He is no longer that simple boy in Yongzhou. During these days in Wagon, he began to see the world, began to understand this beautiful country, this world. As a passionate young man, especially his character, how could he have no ideas? The conversation with Cao Zhong was very pleasant, and it doesn't make much sense to go back to Chang'an now. Next, Cao Zhong will definitely take the horse back to Wagon, and he should split up with him, so as to speed up the process. Among the forces in the world, those who can actually be neutral are the Heavenly Saber Song in the south. Originally, if he hadn't appeared by himself, in fact, something would have happened to Cao Zhong and Song Yazi. Normally speaking, Xian Dao can be won over to let him support Cao Zhong. It's just that since I have such a relationship with Song Yazi at present, the job of wooing Song can only be done by myself. Thinking of this, Xu Feng looked at Song Yazi involuntarily. She didn't want to ride in a carriage, so she rode a maroon horse, wearing a veiled bamboo hat, and she was dressed like a chivalrous woman. She's petite, and it's really easy to get protective when she's quiet. As if feeling that someone was looking at her, Song Yazi turned his head away and looked back. Xu Feng didn't dodge either, and the eyes of the two met in the air. Although separated by a veil, Xu Feng seemed to see a trace of resentment in this gaze. Xu Feng knew in his heart that he was still impulsive that night, and he was indeed sorry for her. But since then, because Song Yazi has been hiding, he has no chance to tell her about it. Thinking of this, Xu Feng drove the horse to Song Yazi's side and walked side by side. Can we talk? Xu Feng asked Song Yazi. Song Yazi lowered his head, and after a while, he said in an inaudible voice, Okay, then I'll go and talk to Li Ziyuning, just wait. As Xu Feng said, he drove to the side of the carriage where Li Ziyuning was sitting, and knocked on the window. Li Ziyuning's beautiful face was quickly revealed, and she smiled and said, What's wrong? Do you want to rest? No, yes, he wants to change her clothes. Note, in ancient times, changing clothes refers to going to the toilet. I'm going to take her to the woods on the side, and help her watch the wind. You take a step first, and we will catch up later. As Xu Feng said, ignoring the wonderful expression on Li Ziyuning's face, he returned to Song Yazi's side, and said to her, Let's go. I told her. Song Yazi didn't know Xu Feng was using this reason. If she knew, she would probably eat Xu Feng. In Li Ziyuning's eyes, the two disappeared from the woods beside the road. Li Ziyuning didn't know when the relationship between these two became so close. Didn't Yazi always dislike Xu Feng? She's been yelling at him before. Ah, that's right, it seems that I haven't seen her pissing off Xu Feng recently. It seems that they talk less, and I have been focusing on the horse these days. Now that I think about it, it seems that there is a real relationship between the two of them. What's going on? But she couldn't tell the team to stop, so she could only let the team move on, and there was an inexplicable emotion in her heart. Chapter 249 Impulsive. On the other side, Xu Feng and Song Yazi came to the woods and made sure they were far away from everyone. The air was quiet, except for the occasional chirping of birds in the forest, the sound of the wind blowing through the leaves, and the breathing of horses. Many times, when you calm down, close your eyes, and allow yourself to listen to the world, you will find many unexpected discoveries. You will find how much you usually ignore nature, and even this long-lost feeling will make people want to cry. It took a long time for Xu Feng to break the harmony first, saying, It was my fault that night, I was too impulsive at that time, but I will take responsibility. Although Song Yuzhi's face was covered by a gauze, Xu Feng could still see that it was already red. After all, she is still shy. In this world, it is difficult for a woman to talk to you about this matter openly. Xu Feng waited for a while, but Song Yuzhi still didn't respond, and he couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Could it be that she really hated him all the time and was unwilling to forgive? Can't help but said again, I'm not looking for excuses, nor is it an empty promise. I will really be responsible, Yuzhi. I can marry you. Ah, Song Yu let out a terrified exclamation, and she couldn't help driving the horse forward a few steps. Now her mind is in a mess. She can't think about anything. Her mind has shut down. She feels her heart beating very fast, as if it is going to jump out of her chest. She couldn't help stretching out her hand to cover her head. She didn't know what to do. When Xu Feng said it, he was shocked too. Did you say this on impulse? Is this my real thought? Or is it a self-interested measure to achieve the goal? Xu Feng didn't understand himself for a while. People often think they know themselves well. If you ask a person, do you know yourself? He will probably sneer, as if he thinks the question is stupid. But in fact, if you think about it seriously, it is really a problem, because many people really don't understand themselves. People often live for others. Because of the social nature of people, people tend to care about the evaluation of this society and the evaluation of others. So many times we may spend a lot of time understanding and trying to figure out the people around us. And because of some things, people have to compromise and have to wrong themselves. After a long time, they often gradually start to ignore themselves and their real needs. How many people can live completely for themselves? And the first step in doing that is, you start to know yourself anew. Xu Feng was intimidated by what he said impulsively at the moment. He seemed to feel that he was a little schizophrenic. It seemed that the words just now did not seem to be spoken by himself. At this moment, he had to seriously think about it. Did he deliberately say that he wanted to marry Song Yuzhi in order to get the support of Xiandao Song? Or do you really think about it in your heart? But I am not from this world. How can I marry her? When the time comes, she will leave this world. So what will she do? Is this responsible? So there is no doubt that you are cheating her feelings, just telling lies to achieve your goals. Another voice, no, I didn't. I really thought about it this way. Although she always hated me at the beginning, I never hated her from the beginning, because she is really cute, and she is really cute. The very kind girl deserves all the love and affection. Since I have done such a thing, as a man, I must be responsible to her. In Xu Feng's mind, two voices seemed to be fighting and arguing non-stop. He was a very contradictory person. He couldn't do many things because he couldn't get past a barrier in his heart. In many cases, it is not just external resistance and constraints. In fact, everyone's own inner principles are the strongest constraints. But this thing, the so-called principle, is actually a way that a person adheres to, and it is still very important. If you lose your way for something, it will be difficult to go long on the road of life. Xu Feng was in great pain at the moment. With the battle between heaven and man in his mind, his breath began to become unstable, and his whole body began to be angry. He began to feel dizzy before his eyes, and he faintly felt that Song Yuzhi was riding forward. He had no choice but to stretch out his hand, trying to stop her, and shouted, Yuzhi. It's a pity that he fell off his horse before he could finish his sentence. All this actually happened in an instant. Song Yuzhi was in a daze, and walked a few steps forward. Unexpectedly, there was a thud behind her, and when she turned around, she saw Xu Feng fell off the horse. Ah, Xu Feng. She hurriedly got off the horse, rushed to Xu Feng in a few steps, and stretched out her hand to hold Xu Feng in her arms. At this moment, her mind was instantly sober. She saw Xu Feng's eyes were closed, his whole body was hot and steaming, and the color of his face was constantly changing. This really scared her. She didn't know what was going on. She thought Xu Feng was going to die, so she cried out anxiously, crying, Xu Feng, don't die, I promise you, don't die please. While crying, shaking Xu Feng, pear blossoms rained on her tears. Her mind was really sober at the moment. She recognized her heart clearly. She likes this man. But is he going to leave him now? The more she thought about it, the sadder she became. Tears dripped down on Xu Feng's face. She cried and shook Xu Feng. In Xu Feng's mind, because of the constant struggle between the two thoughts, his true energy suddenly turned off. His true energy was always operating under the guidance of his subconscious. At this moment, because of the confusion of his own consciousness, His true energy has gone astray. This is the first time this happens, and it is actually very dangerous. In his mind, Xu Feng seemed to float into void space. This place is deathly black, only a faint glimmer of light flickers in the distance. I don't know how long it has passed, there is no time in this space, and there seems to be someone's voice in the distance, calling his name. Xu Feng couldn't hear the sound clearly, so he tried his best to fly towards the source of the sound. After flying for an unknown amount of time, it seemed that after a century, he finally got close to the ray of light in the distance. His face was icy cold. Someone was crying, "Is it Song Yazi?" Finally, Xu Feng's consciousness slowly returned to normal. He slowly opened his eyes, only to see a pale blossoming little face with rain on it. Tears were still falling down, and his eyes were already red and swollen from crying. She coughed hard, which seemed to wake up the crying person. She said in surprise, "Xu Feng? You're awake. You're not dead. It's great, you're not dead." "Ahem, I'm fine, but if you shake me again, I feel like I'm going to pass out again." Xu Feng smiled softly. "I heard some book friends say that the chapters are incoherent. I took a look, because some of the previous chapters were blocked. I will try my best to reply and see if I can unblock them." Chapter 250. "You're fine, that's great." Song Yazi stopped crying slowly, and smiled again. Her eyes were red, and the smile she showed was like a rainbow after the rain. It was so beautiful that it made people suffocate. Xu Feng was also very moved in his heart. How many people in this world can shed tears for another person's safety, except your parents? Very few. Xu Feng already had the answer in his heart. Everything in the world has its own rules. As long as he is sincere and wholehearted at this moment, then he should just follow his heart. For things that are too long-term, the result is difficult to predict. If you stop eating because of choking, you may lose a lot of fun in life, and it may also cause real harm to some people. The body has gradually calmed down, and the true energy that has been diverted slowly returns to the Danshan. Xu Feng stood up from Song Yazi's arms, and Song Yazi hurriedly supported him. "Yazi, you should have heard what I said just now. What I said is true, but I will give you time to think about it." "No need." Song Yazi returned quickly. Seeing Xu Feng staring blankly, her little face blushed again. She quickly lowered her head and explained in a low voice, "I mean, don't think about it, I agree." Although her voice was weak at the back, Xu Feng could still hear it clearly. He smiled and said, "In this case, let's go directly to your house, let's not go back to Chang'an, how about it?" "Well, I listen to you." At this moment, Song Yazi was already like a kitten, very docile and well-behaved. "Okay, then let's say goodbye to Xiaoning first." The two got on their horses, because it had been a while since they had left the main force, so they hurried on. After about a quarter of an hour, they caught up with a large army. On the way, Song Yazi told Xu Feng again that she wanted to bid farewell to Li Xiaoning by herself. Of course Xu Feng agreed. He actually didn't know how to tell Li Xiaoning about it. Song Yazi got into the carriage, and Xu Feng was waiting outside. About half an hour later, Song Yazi came out of the carriage. His face was still red. Looking at her carefully, Xu Feng found that Song Yazi seemed to have become beautiful and cute again, and he couldn't get enough of it. It was really strange. In the eyes of beholders, she would really become beautiful. Song Yazi walked up to him briskly with a smile, and said, "Okay, it's done, let's go." Xu Feng hummed without asking for details, and the two left the main force and started walking in opposite directions. On the way, Song Yazi told Xu Feng that Li Xiaoning originally wanted to arrange for guards to escort her back to Lingnan, but she refused. "It's okay, my husband will protect you." "I hate it, what are you talking about?" Song Yazi wanted to whip Xu Feng with the horsewhip in his hand as he spoke, but unfortunately after Xu Feng finished that sentence, he had a premonition and ran away at a faster speed. Along the way, the two walked in this kind of laughter, and their relationship with each other was also heating up rapidly. Although it is a troubled time, with Xu Feng's skills, no one in this world can threaten him, so naturally the two of them will be able to travel smoothly. The land of Lingnan has become very prosperous after the development of the Han people's southward migration during the southern and northern dynasties. The customs and scenery along the way are completely different from those in Chang'an. Along the way, Xu Feng also had a deeper understanding of the Song family in the conversation with Song Yazi. He was going to marry the daughter of the family, and he wanted to win over the Song clan as a partner. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. The little girl didn't hide anything from him, and she told him everything she knew, but Song Yuzi, as her little girl, didn't know much about it, but Xu Feng already had some understanding of the Song clan, and the two combined, he already had a clearer impression of the behemoth Song clan in his mind. The Song clan is a tyrant in Lingnan, and its sphere of influence covers the entire Lingnan area, and even the land of the two lakes is also radiated by it. As early as the southern and northern dynasties, the Song family had already ruled Lingnan. After the unification of the Sui dynasty, Yang Jian sent, troops to conquer Lingnan. Song led, elite soldiers. The two sides had a decisive battle. According to the policy of Yuelao, Song was granted the title of Xianguang, but although Song reluctantly accepted the title, he never went to the court. In the minds of local people in Lingnan, the Song family is heaven, and the prestige of the Song family cannot be increased. Now the world is in chaos, the four major clans and uprising armies are everywhere, but the Song clan has been far away from the central plains and stayed out of the matter, so Lingnan is a rare scene of a paradise, and the people live and work in peace and contentment. Xu Feng, who came from the north, felt this feeling clearly along the way, and he couldn't help but admire Song. And Song is an outstanding person in this world. When he was young, he was in charge of the Song family and rectified Lingnan. He was a famous handsome man in the martial arts of the previous generation. He is also as famous as the three major martial arts masters in the world, and he is much younger than the three major martial arts masters. Since entering the martial arts world, he has never experienced defeat. In the past 20 years, no one dared to challenge him, not even the magic sect. Lingnan. The Song clan and Song are the real local emperors in Lingnan. And Song Yuzi, as Song's favorite, can be said to be one of the most powerful women in the world, but it is obvious that she is well protected by Song, which is why she is so pure and beautiful. Yuzi, your father is so powerful, what if he doesn't agree to marry you to me? Xu Feng said with a bitter face on purpose. You asked me, of course you figured out a solution yourself, my father loves me so much, now you want to take me away from him, you can do it yourself, I won't help you. Song Yuzi said. Jiao smiled. When she smiles, it is really like 100 flowers blooming, like a rainbow after the rain. Seeing such a smile makes people feel better. Xu Feng greedily looked at the smile, and he thought that this girl really inherited Song's excellent genes. Song was indeed the most beautiful man in martial arts at that time, and the daughter he gave birth to was really not bad. He remembered another sentence, people are like rainbows, you will know when you meet them. Song Yuzi is such a rainbow-like girl, so beautiful, I must protect this beauty. Why don't you talk anymore, why are you looking at me stupidly, am I so good looking? Seeing that Xu Feng didn't answer, Song Yuzi turned to look at him, only to find that he was staring at him and giggling. It's pretty. Xu Feng smiled, Yuzi, no matter how difficult it is, no matter what conditions your father asks, I will definitely marry you. Please talk big, my father is the best swordsman in the world, what if he asks you to compete with him? Then I can only compare, I can do it for you. Song Yuzi was very happy to hear that, but she was actually a little worried, what if her father really disagreed? But this kind of worry didn't last long, she secretly said in her heart, father loves me the most, if I beg him, he will definitely agree. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.